Chapter 1174, You Relate. Powerful cultivators like this old woman were well aware of Wu Qing's departure. Aside from Wu Qing's fame, it was more related to his identity. He was, after all, an elder of the rank 6 Devil Collection sect. His departure naturally caught the attention of many old monsters, especially those who guessed why he was leaving. In the eastern part of the main city of Penglai, Master Ashen Pine sat in the room where the trade happened. He held a jade in his hand and was filled with uncertainty. If I go there again with this many celestial jades, I will definitely succeed. He took a deep breath and was about to go over his plan once more when his head suddenly jerked up. It was as if his eyes could penetrate the room and see Wu Qing flying through the sky outside. Although Wu Qing is at the Nirvana Shatterer stage now, not only has his greed not decreased, it has actually increased. What's even better is that while he thinks of himself as a schemer, he is actually just a very conceited man. I invited him to participate because I heard there was some friction between his Devil Collection sect and Lu Zihao, and I wanted to see if I could cause a dispute. Since he is chasing Lu Zihao, this Lu Zihao will without a doubt die. Forget it. Since I did trade with him, I wouldn't let his origin crystals fall into someone else's hands. Master Ashen Pine revealed a grim smile as his divine sense shot out and closely followed Wu Qing. In the 4th floor of a restaurant in the main city sat a man and a woman. The man wore white, and the woman opposite of him was a beautiful young woman. Her flower dress made her face even more beautiful. The two of them looked at the distance at the same time. The beautiful young woman sighed and shook her head. That little guy hasn't cultivated for long enough. He easily revealed his treasure and caused a fatal calamity on himself. What a pity. The white-clothed scholar pondered a bit and revealed a strange look. Then he smiled. I don't think so. Although that little guy's cultivation level is below Wu Qing's, and he clearly knew that Wu Qing was after him, he still dared to exit the main city. He must have something planned. Oh? This little woman doesn't agree? It seems the little one was frightened and wanted to leave early. I didn't think Wu Qing would disregard his own identity and pursue him. The beautiful woman chuckled and looked at the scholar in white. We all know the result when we see it. The scholar smiled as their divine senses spread out toward Wu Qing. There was an old man with face filled with scars walking slowly through the street with his hand behind his back. He was looking around at the surrounding buildings and was filled with reminiscence. If it wasn't for Master Ashen Pine continuing to invite me, I fear I would have never stepped on Penglai again. He let out a sigh as he looked into the distance and his eyes lit up. What a good example of the big bullying the strong and the strong preying on the weak. He's blatantly trying to kill someone for their treasures. The old man laughed as he appeared on a rooftop and sat down. His divine sense spread out and he looked lively. In the inn of a smaller city away from the main city sat a skinny old man in black with 2 balls in his hands. He was standing next to the window as he looked at the bright sky. His divine sense had spread out far. I let that Wu Qing get ahead, unfortunate. All the old monsters that participated in Master Ashen Pine's auction thought Wang Lin would without a doubt die. All aside from the scholar in white, even though the scholar was a bit skeptical. In his heart, he knew that Nirvana Cleanser cultivators had no chance of surviving a battle against the Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. Not only them, but some other Nirvana Shatterer cultivators in the city were alerted by Wu Qing's departure, and their divine senses spread out. One of them was Tang Lihai. Tang Lihai was sitting inside his room and suddenly opened his eyes from his cultivation. He frowned and hesitated a bit before letting out a sigh, but he didn't try to stop Wu Qing. Sir once said not to provoke that person. Wu Qing, Wu Qing, why must you be like this? A middle-aged man was sitting next to the table in the room beside Tang Lihai. He held a wine cup in his hand and had just swallowed a mouthful. However, he suddenly raised his head and coldly looked at the distance. Wu Qing, you reckless. After hesitating for a bit, the middle-aged man charged off into the distance. There were also powerful cultivators of various factions who didn't spread out their divine senses. However, after noticing all these old monsters spreading out their divine senses, they were surprised and also began to observe. At this moment, an undercurrent began to move because of Wu Qing's departure. No one could predict what would happen next. They will all be shocked, and his name will become something they won't be able to forget. He will climb higher and higher. The battle at Penglai will be where he displays his power to the cloud sea. Li Qianmei wasn't tea in an inn in the city on the eastern part of Peng Lai, and instead was at a towering peak. As she sat there, the powerful wind caused her hair to flutter. Her eyes shined brightly as she silently looked west. Wang Lin moved like lightning. After he left the city, he charged straight for the plain to the west. Another shadow followed closely behind at him at an even faster speed. The two of them were flying one after the other, and got closer and closer. At this moment, they arrived at the boundary between the western and eastern parts of Peng Lai. It was a plain filled with rocks, a very good place to kill. Not only did Wang Lin need to win, he needed to win this fight clearly, fairly, and fast. Only then would this deter the other cultivators on Peng Lai, and make them aware that he, Wang Lin, couldn't be provoked. If this was it wouldn't display Wang Lin's intent. Not only was he going to kill Wu Qing, he was going to make it so the people of the Devil Collection sect wouldn't dare to attack or get revenge. He had to make them fear and make them worry. Before he learned about the rank region, he was a bit worried, but after learning about it from Li Qianmei, all his worries were gone. Wang Lin's feet suddenly stopped, and he slowly turned around. He looked at Wu Qing's figure that was charging at him like a violent gust of wind. Wu Qing's eyes were filled with killing intent. He didn't even try to hide it. Seeing that Wang Lin was no longer escaping, he waved his right hand and immediately attacked at full power without holding back. He activated his early-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivation, and a giant mountain appeared before him. As he waved his hand, this mountain smashed toward Wang Lin. "Junior, don't blame me for being cruel. You hurt a junior of my Devil Collection sect, so you must be prepared to be killed. Today this old man will destroy your body and use your origin soul to refine a pill." Wang Lin's expression was cold as he stared at the mountain closing in at him. When it was 5 feet away from him, he raised his right hand and threw a punch. This fist and the mountain collided with a heaven-shattering bang. An earth-shattering crackling sound echoed, and the mountain unexpectedly collapsed. Wang Lin withdrew his right hand and shook his head. Too weak. Wu Qing was startled, and his expression changed. Without hesitation, his hands formed a seal, and a black wind and a white wind appeared around him. The two winds charged into the sky and collided to form a gray vortex. "Power to uproot the heavens," Wu Qing shouted. Then he pushed his hand forward. The vortex suddenly began to swell, and all the origin energy within, kilometers, began to get sucked into it. The vortex seemed to cover the sky as it descended on Wang Lin. Wu Qing's mind trembled violently. The scene of Wang Lin shattering that mountain with a punch still echoed in his mind. His right hand reached at the void to open his storage space and was about to take out a treasure. Just at this instant, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. They were filled with monstrous coldness and killing intent. He had been waiting for this moment. "Wu Qing, your death has arrived." Wang Lin's voice was like the cold wind as it echoed around the area. When it landed in Wu Qing's ears, it caused him to feel a chill. Just at this moment, Wang Lin stepped forward, and his right palm pushed forward. This strike caused all the origin energy with 5,000 kilometers to become chaotic. And at the same time, Wang Lin quickly pointed at the back of his right hand with 2 fingers from his left hand. All the origin energy within tens of thousands of kilometers suddenly gathered under Wang Lin's control. This majestic origin energy gathered at Wang Lin's fingertips and went into his right hand. It turned into an unimaginable force that shot out toward the vortex. The two spells quickly closed in and collided, causing a heaven-shaking sound that echoed across a portion of Peng Lai. Wang Lin's left hand didn't stop, and once again pointed at the back of his right hand. The second time it landed, all the origin energy from within 50,000 kilometers rushed in like crazy and entered the vortex Wu Qing's spell had made. This didn't end here. Wang Lin casually withdrew his left hand. Then, as if he was reaching for the sky, he formed a third finger. This time, all the origin energy from Peng Lai seemed to have started boiling and gathered in Wang Lin's right hand. It formed a destructive aura and charged at the vortex. The vortex trembled and instantly collapsed. A powerful shockwave spread in all directions and kicked up dust everywhere. Countless rocks were sent flying, and they all exploded into dust under the shockwave. Endless dust covered the world. Without his original body, Wang Lin could kill an early-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. Now he had his original body, and it was much stronger than before. The power of his body was unimaginable, and along with the power of an ancient god, His ability to kill had increased greatly. After the three fingers landed, Wang Lin's right hand slammed down and his origin energy crashed down toward Wu Qing. Wu Qing's pupils contracted. At this moment of life and death, he didn't even have time to feel regret. Treasures quickly flew out from Wu Qing's storage space to stop this force. However, Wang Lin had learned this spell from Master Lufu, although he hadn't learned its essence with Master Lufu's cultivation level. The power of this spell was something even the former celestial emperors had to be wary of. How could Wu Qing's treasures stop a spell this powerful? Wu Qing wasn't qualified to have a treasure that could stop this spell. He was not worthy of having such qualifications. A thunderous rumble echoed and all of Wu Qing's treasures exploded. Then the black palm landed on his chest. His clothes were torn to pieces and he coughed out blood. He then retreated with a pale face, completely shocked. "You're not a nirvana cleanser, cultivator." Wu Qing's heretical voice could be heard. "Wu Qing, I want to send you off." Wang Lin closed his eyes and lifted his right hand once more. The huge palm print from the Rain Celestial Realm appeared in his mind. The print grew until it replaced everything. He first gained an understanding of this technique back in the Rain Celestial Realm. He had used it without truly understanding it, and forced the genius red butterfly to retreat. In the demon spirit land, he comprehended the technique again and revealed its potential shocking demon general Molihei. The second time he went to the demon spirit land, the palm print shook the heavens and destroyed the 8th floor of the celestial cave, shocking Ling Tianhu greatly. In the alliance, in order to stop the members of the Purple Dao sect from the Cloud Sea from escaping, he used this technique once more and killed everyone in sight. It was at that moment that Wang Lin learned the name of this spell. War Spirit Print. Rank 9 God Sect War Spirit Print. All these thoughts immediately appeared one after another in his mind, from his comprehension to the 4 times he had used it. All these things swirled in his mind until they all collapsed, leaving behind just the handprint. This palm print was filled with unimaginable might that turned into a will that entered his right hand and was shot forward. This palm caused the world to change colors and a rumble to echo. All the dust in the area was being pushed aside as if a storm was sweeping by. The will contained within this palm was the aura of one that stood above even the heavens. A giant palm that covered the heavens and earth appeared before Wang Lin and pressed down with unimaginable pressure. This palm was like the heavens. Beneath it, Wu Qing was like an ant. The moment this palm appeared, the divine sense of all the old monsters trembled, and all of Penglai was terrified. War. War Spirit Print. Rank 9 God Sect S War Spirit Print. Wu Qing was completely stunned, and a never-before-seen sense of despair filled his body. Even though he was a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, the pressure of the War Spirit Print still made him feel like the world was collapsing. What was even more shocking was that the legendary War Spirit Print from the God Sect had appeared before him. In his mind, this wasn't just the War Spirit Print, but the entire God Sect. He let out a scream and began to retreat like crazy. The fear in his eyes drowned his mind. At this moment, he didn't care about how his mind was seriously injured and his body was about to collapse. He only wanted to escape. However, he couldn't escape, as the palm continued to grow until it filled his vision. In almost an instant, the palm hit Wu Qing, and the entire earth trembled. Wu Qing's body exploded into a mist of blood. His origin soul escaped and was swept by the palm before he could escape. Like a solitary boat in the violent ocean, his origin soul dissipated. The elder of the Devil Collection sect, Wu Qing, died. Even at the moment of his death, he was filled with fear and confusion along with deep regret. The moment Wu Qing died, Wang Lin stepped forward to where Wu Qing had opened his storage space. Only a short period of time had passed since Wu Qing had arrived and was killed. Although it wasn't an instant kill, it was very clean. Wu Qing's storage space didn't even have time to close. Now that he had died, his mark on the storage space was gone and it was rapidly closing. Right before it closed, Wang Lin's right hand reached inside and mercilessly took everything away. This was a method he had thought of to take stuff from the storage space of cultivators above the Nirvana Cleanser stage. Kill the other party the moment they open their storage space. This will give you a moment to take their things. At this moment the palm hadn't dissipated. It was moving forward in an even more crazed manner. It moved forward with an irresistible force and caused earth-shattering rumbles as it scraped across the ground. All of Penglai trembled as if it was going to collapse as the palm swept across the surface. As the palm continued to move forward, endless origin energy gathered. This palm that pierced the sky caused all the clouds to shatter and countless cracks appeared in the sky. A thunderous rumble echoed over Penglai. It seemed to be welcoming the reappearance of the war spirit print. The palm moved faster and faster and absorbed even more origin energy. Soon, it broke free from Wang Lin's control. Wang Lin simply withdrew his divine sense and allowed it to move forward as it wished. The ground trembled even more violently, and the speed of the palm reached a peak. It was no slower than a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. In the blink of an eye, it flew toward the floating cities on the eastern side of Penglai. This scene was simply too shocking, and all the cultivators on Penglai were startled. Seeing the palm charging at them from the distance, they all flew out from the cities. In an instant, the palm closed in and collided with one of the floating stones. The stone immediately collapsed and the city on it completely was disintegrated. It wasn't able to stop the palm from moving forward at all. As the palm passed, endless rumbles echoed, and more than 10 of the stones on the right side collapsed. The palm passed by the right side of the main city in the center, causing the entire stone to be pushed slightly to the left. An earth-shaking sound replaced everything in the world. The palm penetrated the eastern part of the main city and shot off into the void. It was as if something was battling the heavens. One palm to pierce the heavens. It broke through the protective barrier of Penglai and went into space. Large amounts of fog entered the palm, causing its power to increase greatly. There was a wild continent not far from Penglai. It was a forbidden land of the treasured Jade sect, and they didn't allow any outside cultivators to step on it. The palm was heading straight for it. In just a moment, the palm absorbed endless fog and turned into a huge palm with no end in sight. It looked like a palm from an ancient god when it landed on the wild continent. Rumble, 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 rumble. Unimaginable fluctuations came from the starry sky. The wild continent trembled violently as it fragmented into countless large pieces and collapsed. The palm dissipated. Wang Lin was shocked. He didn't think the palm would have such power once it was out of his control. He vaguely guessed that the palm print in the Rain Celestial realm had appeared like this as well. In the distance, the middle-aged man from the Devil Collection sect stared at all of this and gasped. His eyes were filled with disbelief, and Wang Lin had caused a terrifying storm to set off in his heart. This is the war spirit print? This person's identity, his face was pale, and he was in shock. The fear in his mind made it so it was impossible to even think of getting revenge for Wu Qing. At the same time, all the cultivators on Penglai were shocked, especially the old monsters that had their divine senses around the area and saw this. They were all stunned. Master Ashen Pine's eyes widened, and he crushed the jade in his hand as he stared straight ahead. His mind trembled and his face was pale as he subconsciously licked his lips. Who the hell is he? The scholar in white and the beautiful woman also left the restaurant when the giant palm print swept by. Half of the city was destroyed. The beautiful woman was completely pale and her pupils shrank. Her mind was shaken and she was completely speechless. She had just called Wang Lin a little cultivator, but her heart was now filled with endless disbelief and a deep chill. Killing Wu Qing and using the war spirit print. This person can be provoked. The scholar in white gasped, but his eyes shined brightly. However, the light wasn't able to cover up the shock in his mind. Not far away, the old man filled with scars was frozen in place. He still couldn't believe what had just happened. I didn't think he was someone from the god sect. The war spirit print is too scary. The withered elder in black was the most fortunate. At this moment, the two balls in his hand had stopped turning. His face was pale as cold sweat dripped from his forehead, and he took a deep breath. Fortunately, Wu Qing attacked first. Otherwise, I would be the one to die. The Devil Collection sect will soon be wiped out for daring to provoke someone from the God sect. There was also the old woman in green that had sold Wang Lin the star map. Her eyes lit up, and she frowned as she suppressed the shock in her heart. She looked at the ruins left by the palm print, but no one knew what she was thinking. The one that was most shocked was Tang Lihai. His lips were dry, and he was completely frightened. If he were to face Wang Lin again, he wouldn't be as calm as he was before. every single early-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator would feel extreme fear towards someone that could kill an early-stage Nirvana Shatterer so quickly. In addition to them, the cultivators from various sects and old monsters that were here for the auction, especially those that saw the battle, all looked toward the west with complicated gazes. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he patted the dust off his clothes. He walked forward, and not far before him was the pale, middle-aged man that was hiding at the inn. You relate. I forgot to say, the latest 3 chapters are all 4,000-word major chapters. Is Leo that kind? So this is the moon god. Is it the like button for the VIDEO? Do you all also start the VIDEO? Chapter 117. Death of Wang Lin. The 30,000 souls went in and out of the dragon as if they were having a party. Tang Huayuan was stunned as the dragon passed through the souls and charged toward him. Tang Huayuan's expression became very unsettled. However, he didn't have any time to think and quickly backed up. He threw out several defensive magic treasures to stop the dragon, but no matter what the magic treasures did, they couldn't stop the dragon. The dragon passed through them as if they weren't there, let out a roar, and swallowed Tang Huayuan. Lin Yi's expression was strange. He looked at the giant, who was enjoying the show, and found that the giant's expression was also strange. The two looked at each other, and then the giant laughed and looked at the dragon with a playful expression. Tang Huayuan only felt a gentle wind as the dragon devoured him. The dragon looked very fierce, but the moment it touched him, the dragon disappeared without a trace. It had been long since Tang Huayuan had felt cold sweat, but at that moment, his back was covered in sweat. Illusion Tang Huayuan's face went from green to red. Finally, he couldn't hold it in and cursed out loud. This was the first time he had cursed since reaching the core formation stage a few hundred years ago. He was scared to death by an illusion in front of all of the cultivators of Zhao. Tang Huayuan's anger suddenly reached its limit. He gloomily slapped his bag of holding to take out the black flag and kill Wang Lin's family members one by one right in front of him. But just at that moment, points of light appeared in the air. The light gathered and the youth appeared again. Without a word, he waved his hand and a flash of cyan light filled with coldness shot toward Tang Huayuan. Tang Huayuan sneered. Not only did he not back away, he went forward instead. He reached out with his hand and sarcastically said, "The first one was an illusion, but the second one might not be. Is this little trick all you have, Wang Lin?" With that, his hand grabbed the flying sword. There was a flash of green light and the flying sword disappeared. It reappeared behind Tang Huayuan and mercilessly charged toward his back. There was a tink sound as the sword stabbed at a piece of metal. The sword bounced back very far. From the torn piece of Tang Huayuan's clothes, one could see a golden plate of armor. A cold light flashed across Tang Huayuan's eyes as he moved forward with a dark expression. He appeared before the youth and grabbed toward him with black lines that extended from his fingernails. At the same time, he waved his left hand and 8 blood pillars appeared. The 8 pillars joined together to form a cage. At the same time, the youth in the air not only didn't panic, but revealed a mocking expression. As Tang Huayuan's hand drew close to him, the youth's body turned into a point of light and slowly disappeared. 2 cyan grains of light, one big and one small, appeared where the youth was. The 2 cyan grains quickly collided with each other. Tang Huayuan's expression suddenly changed. At that very moment, a wave of cyan light spread out and instantly covered everything in a 1-kilometer radius. Everything within 1 kilometer became an ocean of ice. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes and thought, "Interesting. This little guy is interesting. He not only has the Illusion City's 1,000 illusion bead, he also has the Underworld Sect's blue ice. That flying sword is also not normal. Although it is an imitation, it is still powerful." The giant in the sky was also startled as he looked toward the formation at Juming Valley and let out a strange smile. In the sky, the film in the circle formed by the 2 black dragons had almost completely melted. It was about to open. The 8 blood pillars around Tang Huayuan let out cracking sounds as they were instantly frozen over and lost their effect as a prison. At the same time, waves of blue ice quickly climbed up Tang Huayuan's legs. He felt waves of coldness enter this body, causing it to become stiff. However, he didn't panic. This level of coldness wouldn't affect him much. He cycled spiritual energy through his body and recovered. At the same time, Wang Lin, who was at the entrance of the Juming Valley, suddenly used one of his 2 remaining teleports. He appeared just as the blue light spread out. With his body's resistance to the cold, he wasn't affected and silently appeared behind Tang Huayuan. He knew that with his strength he had no chance in a fight against a nascent soul cultivator. Tang Huayuan would only have to raise his hand to kill him countless times, so Wang Lin didn't even think about getting revenge. Even though he was filled with killing intent, he suppressed it. He reached out and grabbed toward Tang Huayuan's bag of holding. Tang Huayuan noticed Wang Lin when he appeared behind him. He suddenly turned his head and saw that it was Wang Lin. He understood what was going on, but his body was still recovering from the stiffness, so his movements were slow and Wang Lin's appearance was sudden. By the time he saw Wang Lin was already on his bag of holding. Tang Huayuan revealed a hideous expression and shouted, "Explode!" A destructive force suddenly came out of the bag of holding when Wang Lin's hand touched it. The force entered his body and ran through his arm. The explosion started at his fingertips and rapidly spread. Wang Lin clenched teeth. The flying sword appeared, cut off his hand, and he used the force of the explosion to push himself back. At the same time, his left hand moved and grabbed the bag of holding with his attraction technique as he quickly escaped. When Tang Huayuan regained his mobility, he took a step forward. He instantly moved out of the area of the cyan light and chased after Wang Lin. He caught up in the blink of an eye, reached out, and shouted, "Wang Lin, do you think that just because you have my bag of holding, you will be able to open it? Since you killed my great-great-grandson, I am going to refine your soul into the soul flag and let you suffer torture worse than death." Wang Lin's right hand had completely shattered. He used his spiritual energy to freeze his arm to stop the bleeding. He didn't dare to touch Tang Huayuan's bag of holding. He was holding it with his attraction force technique. Tang Huayuan felt very annoyed as having to deal with a Foundation Establishment Junior before everyone was already a very shameful thing. If he had instantly caught or killed Wang Lin, it wouldn't have been too bad, but he was tricked into a sorry state by an illusion, and then that blue ice restrained his body for a while. On top of that, even though it was only for a short period of time, Wang Lin had managed to steal his bag of holding. He wasn't feeling any less insulted than if had been slapped in the face, and this wasn't just one slap, it was like being slapped repetitively. What annoyed him the most was that Wang Lin clearly wouldn't be able to survive one hit, but knew how to teleport. This shocked Tang Huayuan greatly, as teleporting was something only nascent soul cultivators could do. In addition to all of this, what shocked Tang Huayuan the most was Wang Lin's determination and decisiveness to cut off his own right hand to stop the explosion from spreading. At this point, Tang Huayuan couldn't help but praise Wang Lin, but that praise was quickly submerged by hatred. The more decisive Wang Lin was, the more Tang Huayuan wanted to kill him. "Wang Lin, you can blame anyone for killing my great-great-grandson, but you can rest assured. After I kill you, I'll go wipe out old man Jimo, who sent Tang Li after you, and his disciples to accompany you in hell." Tang Huayuan sneered in his heart and waved his hand. Suddenly, a cold wind started to blow. 30,000 souls came out and charged at Wang Lin. In order to prevent Wang Lin from using teleportation again, Tang Huayuan hit his own chest and his nascent soul appeared above his head. With a roar, his nascent soul shrunk greatly. A ball of blood came out of the nascent soul's mouth. The moment the ball of blood appeared, it began to expand until it enveloped the area. Due to the effect of the curse, the moment the blood surrounded the area, Wang Lin found that his body was immediately immobilized. He was about to teleport away until he looked straight ahead and saw something that made his body tremble. He stared at the souls coming at him and wept 2 streams of blood. The souls he was looking at had expressions filled with pain, and one of them was his father. Tang Huayuan noticed Wang Lin's expression. He suddenly decided not to rush things. He eerily laughed. "Did you see it? Did you really think I would put your entire family's souls in just one soul flag? Wang Lin, you read too navy." With that, he pointed with his hand and the 30,000 souls stopped. Then, Wang Lin's father's soul separated from the group and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin gritted his teeth as a stream of blood leaked out of his mouth. He watched as his father's soul entered his body. While enduring the awful pain, he started to laugh miserably. His laughter became louder and louder as he coughed out several mouthfuls of blood. He raised his head and shouted, "So this is the cultivation world. Good. Good." He slammed his forehead and spat out a mouthful of yin spiritual energy. He carefully wrapped it around his father's soul in a way that wouldn't freeze it. Teng Huayuan watched Wang Lin and suddenly felt a chill in his heart, but shortly after he felt that it was kind of funny that he would be scared of a foundation establishment cultivator. However, he couldn't stop the chill in his heart from intensifying. He waved his hand again, and another soul came out of the cluster of 30,000 souls. This time, it was Wang Lin's mother. Wang Lin's body shook as he let go of the bag of the holding he was holding with his attraction force technique. That bag was now useless to him. Memories of his childhood, of before he entered the Hang Yue sect, flooded into his mind. Wang Lin, see how merciful I am, to let you reunite with your parents. As Teng Huayuan talked, he pointed with his finger and Wang Lin's mother's soul entered Wang Lin's body. The pain in his body was nothing compared to the pain he felt in his heart. Wang Lin could feel that his heart was bleeding. He coldly stared at Teng Huayuan as he once again used his yin spiritual energy to freeze and preserve his mother's soul. Teng Huayuan let out an eerie smile and said, "Okay, let the games end. I know you want to use the tunnel to the foreign battleground to escape. You can give up on that idea." With that, he reached out and Wang Lin's bag of holding flew into Teng Huayuan's hand. He crushed the bag of holding, destroying everything inside along with the tokens. At the same time, the 30,000 souls charged into Wang Lin and began to devour his flesh and spiritual energy. Countless human faces appeared under his skin. There were even ones that charged toward Wang Lin's parents' souls, which were surrounded by Wang Lin's eyes, but Wang Lin used his body to protect them. Shortly after, Wang Lin's left hand was devoured at a visible rate before him. After that were both of his legs. Throughout this entire time, Wang Lin didn't let out a sound as he stared coldly at Teng Huayuan. This caused the chill in Teng Huayuan's heart to become even stronger. The giant in the sky stared at Wang Lin and excitedly thought, "Hostility aura! This is hostility aura." As the 30,000 souls rampaged through him, his body slowly dissipated. Teng Huayuan revealed a serious expression as he muttered to himself, "Li, your great-great-grandfather is getting revenge for you. Watch, it's just not over yet. Once his body is destroyed, I'll take his soul." Wang Lin let out a miserable laugh. He couldn't feel the pain in his body. He took the chance while he could still breathe to use his attraction technique to wrap around the ice that contained his parents' souls and move them to his chest. This was the only thing he could do. Even if he were to die, he wanted to die with his parents. He didn't regret coming out of the Juming Valley. He knew that if he were to hide, he would only be able to temporarily escape, but even if there was a sliver of hope, he wouldn't give up on it. Coming out gave him a sliver of hope in stealing back his parents' souls. If he had stayed inside, he wouldn't have even that tiny sliver. His body was locked within this blood prison. He had already tried to teleport away, but found that he was unable to. Right now, there was only hatred in Wang Lin's heart. Father, mother, Taiju is unfilial. If there is another life after this, I hope I'm not your son because I am unworthy without me. You guys wouldn't have to suffer. Wang Lin wept blood as he closed his eyes. Just then, an ancient voice came from Wang Lin's chest. Shortly after, Wang Lin's body exploded. The 30,000 souls escaped Wang Lin's body in a panic as a beam of light grabbed Wang Lin's parents' souls, broke through the blood prison, and entered the foreign battleground. The film that was more than 80 to 90% melted suddenly collapsed under the impact of the ray of light. The giant S and Lin Yi's expression suddenly changed when they saw that ray of light. Lin Yi shouted. It's just as he started. He immediately shut his mouth and jumped toward the foreign battleground. However, the moment he touched the circle formed by the two black dragons, he was bounced back. It's been a long time since wishing for likes on the VIDEO. The little pig wishing for the like button for the VIDEO support. Chapter 1175. Member of the God Sect. The middle-aged man's face was pale, and he revealed a bitter expression as he looked at Wang Lin walking closer. He pondered a bit and clasped his hands. Devil Collection Sect as Xianxia greets fellow cultivator. Wang Lin didn't speak and coldly looked at the middle-aged man before him. This person was at the mid-stage of Nirvana Shatterer. Wang Lin had always wondered if he could battle mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer after he fused with his original body. The middle-aged man's expression became even more bitter. He let out a sigh and clasped his hands again. 2 days ago, Wu Qing was expelled from the Devil Collection Sect. His words and actions were his own without any connection to the Devil Collection sect. He dared to provoke your excellency from the God sect. It is his own fault that he died. Wang Lin still didn't speak, and his gaze was still cold. The more he acted like this, the more he fit the identity of someone from the God sect, someone who arrogantly looked down at the world. A mere rank 6 sect was insignificant in the eyes of a member of the God sect. The middle-aged man let out a bitter smile. He clenched his teeth and his right hand reached at the void. A crack to his storage space opened, and bottles of pill flew out. There were 7 bottles in total. These all contain rank 7 soul-parting death pills, a total of 46 pills. Wang Lin's eyes were still cold. The middle-aged man pondered for a moment, then he reached out again and took out a pill bottle. There are 9 rank 8 soul-parting death pills. Wang Lin's voice was calm, but he gave off a sense of majesty as he slowly said, I won't pursue Wu Qing's offense toward me anymore. But this is not enough to clear your Devil Collection sect's offense toward me. This majesty was not something an ordinary cultivator could have. Even a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator wouldn't have this unless they were the leader of a powerful sect. Wang Lin was once the divine emperor of the Vermilion Bird Divine sect. He didn't need to force it. Just thinking about the Vermilion Bird Divine sect enabled him to naturally display this majesty. The middle-aged man let out a wry smile and took out 2 more bottles of pills. He looked at Wang Lin and bitterly said, 2 rank 10 pills, this is my limit. Wang Lin calmly said, Wu Qing spent tens of thousands of celestial jades to make it difficult for me to get a treasure. The middle-aged man didn't speak. He took out a bag from his storage space. Without looking at the bag, Wang Lin took everything and nodded at the middle-aged man. He turned into a ray of light and flew toward an inn in a city on the east side of Penglai. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that the middle-aged man's expression became ugly. The rage inside him was almost monstrous. Wu Qing, I told you not to provoke this person, but you didn't listen. You deserve to die. However, you implicated the Devil Collection sect. This person was unexpectedly someone from the God sect. On the top of a mountain peak on the east of Penglai, Li Mei's eyes revealed a strange light. After silently pondering for a long time, she softly muttered, God sect? It has been many years since the people of the God sect left the rank region. Only the very core disciples can use the war spirit print. How could they be allowed to leave the God sect so easily? It was that person's first palm that was very strange. I don't know what spell is tyrannical enough to control the origin energy like that. It almost felt like a slave imprint. Wang Lin didn't move very fast as he flew across the sky and returned to the east side of Penglai. He immediately saw the half-ruined city and the countless cultivators flying in the sky. These cultivators all had complicated expressions when Wang Lin arrived, and they all stepped aside. They all looked at Wang Lin with a hint of fear. None of the cultivators that had come here were weak, and what had just happened had shaken them greatly. That giant palm was very surprising. In the Cloud Sea, almost everyone knew that that easily distinguishable palm was the God sect's #1 spell, the War Spirit print. Even those that were skeptical were no longer suspicious after seeing the might of that palm. Among the cultivators from the rank 6 sects, their elders all came out to greet Wang Lin. Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin from afar with a smile to cover his shock. He seemed like he wanted to talk. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but he sneered in his heart. He clasped his hands as a polite response as he moved through the crowd and returned to his inn. In the cultivation world, the strong were respected. Wang Lin had revealed that he could easily kill an early-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator and could use the War Spirit print. Now, no one in the rank region would dare to provoke him. Even the treasured Jade sect didn't dare to blame him for destroying half the city. After returning to the inn, Wang Lin counted this harvest. On top of what the middle-aged man had given him, there was the myriad of items from Wu Qing's storage space. After looking at everything, Wang Lin took out the red feather. Holding the feather in his hand, a flame appeared in his left eye. The flame flickered and seemed to resonate with the fire origin energy inside the feather. If I can undergo my 3rd Vermilion Bird awakening, I will become even stronger. Unfortunately, this one feather isn't enough. The feather in his hand immediately turned into a flame that looked like a vermilion bird. It flew from his hand and circled him as if it was very happy. Finally, it entered into Wang Lin's left eye and disappeared. The moment the vermilion bird entered his left eye, a sea of flames appeared around him. However, the flames didn't destroy anything in the inn, but instead burned the void. After a long time, these flames were absorbed into his body. Wang Lin took a deep breath and began to ponder. After killing Wu Qing and using the name of the god sect, there should be no one on Penglai who would dare to have any ideas about me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. So, it's time to start the harvest. During the next few days, the rank 6 sects all came to visit, and the old monsters from Master Ashen Pine's party came to visit as well. Wang Lin calmly received them all. None of the visitors came empty-handed, and they were all very respectful. Although they were still doubtful of Wang Lin's identity, it was impossible to verify it. Only the people of the god sect would know if Wang Lin was real or fake. If he was fake, it would be fine because then at most they would lose some gifts. However, if he was real, then having a good relationship with him was the dream of any sect. On this day, he sent away the cultivators from the Dao spell sect, and the old man in black who had the feather came to visit. This old man didn't talk about what happened before at all and looked calm. He feared Wang Lin in his heart. After all, Wu Qing was easily killed by Wang Lin, and he was also at the early stage of Nirvana Shatterer, so it was natural to be extremely cautious. After exchanging pleasantries, the old man clasped his hands. Fellow cultivator Lu, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Duday. I have no sect and am just a rogue cultivator in the rank region. It is an honor to meet fellow cultivator Lu here at Penglai. Wang Lin smiled and slowly said, Fellow cultivator Du is as free as the clouds without any sect holding you down. I am envious. The old man in black wryly smiled and shook his head. This old man likes peace and quiet, so I didn't enter any sect. I only came to Penglai because an old friend invited me. After the big auction in 2 days, I'll leave. If fellow cultivator comes to the rank region in the future, you can come and visit my cave. Wang Lin nodded. He looked at the old man in black and pondered for a moment. This old man in black's cultivation had already reached this point, so he was naturally very aware. If fellow cultivator Lu wants to say something, then there is no harm in just saying it. Wang Lin looked at the old man in black and slowly said, I wonder where fellow cultivator Du got that vermilion bird feather. The old man in black pondered a bit and said, I obtained it from a wild continent in the rank region. Outsiders don't know about it, and I only found it by accident. All the fierce beasts there are good with fire, and it is a dangerous place, so I didn't venture far in. After he finished speaking, he took out a jade and his divine sense went inside before handing it to Wang Lin. If fellow cultivator Lu is interested, you may check it out. However, don't go in too deep. According to my observations, there is a rank 11 fierce beast there. Wang Lin took the jade and scanned it with his divine sense. He then clasped his hands at the old man in black. They talked for a bit more before the old man in black left. Over the past 2 days, Wang Lin had subtly spread out the news that he was looking to buy star maps. Soon, people began to buy star maps, and in just 2 days, almost all the star maps in the city had been brought. After the maps had been carefully verified, the star maps eventually ended up in Master Ashen Pine's hands. Holding these star maps, Master Ashen Pine went to the inn Wang Lin was in. After catching up, he took out a bag filled with star maps. I heard fellow cultivator Lu was interested in star maps, so I had people gather some. However, there is too much false information, so I don't know how much is accurate. Fellow cultivator Lu needs to carefully examine them. After taking the bag, Wang Lin smiled and clasped his hands. Thank you, fellow cultivator Ashen Pine. This has saved me a lot of trouble. After talking for a while, Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin and suddenly said, I wonder if fellow cultivator Lu will have any urgent matters to attend to after tomorrow's auction. Wang Lin looked at Master Ashen Pine and shook his head. Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine, you can just say what you need to say. Master Ashen Pine pondered for a bit and said, I know of a secret place, and there may be something there that you would be interested in. As he spoke, he looked at Wang Lin. After finding no change in Wang Lin's expression, he took out a jade and handed it to Wang Lin. Wang Lin accepted the jade. He didn't check it but looked at Master Ashen Pine with a smile that wasn't a smile. Master Ashen Pine let out a dry cough and said, Long story short, I see that fellow cultivator Lu is trading for a lot of origin crystals. If you help me enter that place, I'll gift you 10,000 origin crystals as an reward. Wang Lin calmly swept the jade with his divine sense, and his eyes closed. The room was quiet. Master Ashen Pine was not anxious and waited for Wang Lin's reply. After a moment, Wang Lin opened his eyes and calmly said, "I want 20,000 origin crystals, 10,000 up front." Master Ashen Pine hesitated for a moment before he nodded and smiled. Good. To gain the help of someone from the God sect for 20,000 origin crystals is a good value. After tomorrow's auction is over, I'll deliver the origin crystals and we will head out. Master Ashen Pine clasped his hands and left. After he left Wang Lin's room, his smile disappeared, and he let out a cold snort in his heart. How can the people of the God sect be lacking origin crystals? This person's identity is extremely suspicious. Whether his identity is true or not doesn't matter as long as he behaves. As long as I can enter that place, my cultivation level will climb. And then Master Ashen Pine took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He had been preparing for this for almost 1,000 years. The year of the dragon is approaching. Leo's year is coming fast, fervently shouting for the like button for the VIDEO, wishing to be drowned in happiness by the likes for the VIDEO. Chapter 1176. Wouldn't it be better to forget about each other? In these 2 short days, the part of the city that was destroyed by Wang Lin's war spirit print was quickly rebuilt by the treasured jade sect. In just 2 short days, a large amount of spirit stones was used and countless cultivators worked on the repairs. The city was restored before the auction arrived. The auction on Peng Lai was very important, and the items being auctioned were all very valuable. The reason so many old monsters would come to Peng Lai was due to this auction. The location of the auction was at the square at the center of the main city of Peng Lai. This wasn't an auction just anyone could enter. Only those with an invitation were allowed in. There was a large amount of treasured jade sect cultivators around this 100,000 feet area, preventing outsiders from entering. When the auction was about to begin, all the old monsters from the various sects arrived and entered with their invitation jades. Wang Lin was also a bit interested in the auction. He calmly flew toward the center of the main city. Along the way, all the cultivators that saw him respectfully clasped their hands at him. During these 2 days, almost everyone had memorized Wang Lin's appearance, and no one dared to offend him. It didn't take long for Wang Lin to arrive at the main city. The cultivators of the treasured jade sect could stop anyone without an invitation jade. However, after seeing Wang Lin, their minds trembled, and they moved out of the way. They didn't dare to check if Wang Lin had an invitation jade or not. There were almost 100 cultivators scattered across the square. Most of them were Nirvana Scryer or Nirvana Cleanser cultivators. There weren't many Nirvana Shatterer old monsters. Wang Lin's arrival immediately caught the attention of all these cultivators. They all clasped their hands at him, and some even went up to chat with him. Wang Lin calmly dealt with them as he looked through the crowd and saw Li Qianmei in the distance. Li Qianmei noticed Wang Lin's gaze and chuckled. Her eyes were as bright as the stars. A moment after Wang Lin entered the auction square, an elder in red entered with a middle-aged man. After seeing Wang Lin, he let out a hearty laugh. For fellow cultivator Lu to come to my humble auction is the honor of my treasured jade sect. Wang Lin knew this elder in red. He was one of the people that had visited him over the last 2 days representing the treasured jade sect. So it's Elder Sao. Wang Lin revealed a smile and clasped his hands. The old man in red was very polite. He didn't dare to underestimate this youth in white before him. Every time he thought about how Wu Qing had died, he would tremble. Before he visited Wang Lin on the behalf of the treasured jade sect, he was clearly aware that this person was not normal. That calmness in speech along with the hint of illusion whenever he looked at Wang Lin's eyes were enough to shock him. Later, he reported all of this to the sectmaster. After pondering for a long time, the sectmaster sent out a message. No disciple of the sect could offend this person on Peng Lai. Make yours. Whether he is part of the God sect or not has nothing to do with my treasured jade sect. Just the fact that he was able to kill Wu Qing so easily is enough for him to be respected. The old man in red talked with Wang Lin for a bit before looking up at the sky. He smiled at Wang Lin and said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, the auction is about to start. If you have anything you wanted to take out to auction, you have to hurry." Wang Lin pondered a bit. He indeed have a few things he wanted to auction to trade for as many origin crystals as possible. After a moment, he smiled. Might as well. I do have 2 treasures I want to auction. Oh? Treasures that fellow cultivator Lu is willing to auction. Can T be normal? The old man in red revealed a hint of interest. Wang Lin didn't speak as he raised his right hand and reached out. A crack to this storage space opened and 2 objects surrounded by black light flew out at the old man in red. The old man's eyes lit up and he looked at Wang Lin. He saw that there were seals on the treasures and therefore didn't check them with his divine sense. He let every cultivator's gaze gather and clearly see the shapes of the treasures before putting them away. Wang Lin looked at the old man in red with a smile that wasn't a smile and clasped his hands. The old man coughed and softly said, "This old man will first send these 2 items to the elder responsible for the auction. Fellow cultivator Lu can rest assured." With that, he clasped his hands and left. That old man is an interesting person. Wang Lin's gaze swept by the old man's back. After the old man in red left, other cultivators came up to talk to Wang Lin. This included the scholar in white and the beautiful woman from Master Ashen Pine's auction. The 3 weren't unfamiliar. After they talked for a moment, the square began to tremble and everyone became quiet. The ground shook even more violently and cracks appeared around the square. 16 huge stone tablets rose into the air. These 16 stone tablets broke out from the earth and stopped after they were 1,000 feet into the air. Light began to surround the tablets. At the same time, the earth around the 16 tablets continued to tremble, and more than 40 smaller tablets flew out from the ground. They stopped when they were 800 feet in the air. This didn't end. After these 40 tablets flew out, more than 100 tablets flew out outside them and stopped 500 feet in the air. These tablets formed a giant formation. This was not the first time a majority of these cultivators had participated in this auction, so they weren't surprised. They all scattered and sat down on the various tablets based on their cultivation levels and status. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he took a step forward. He arrived above one of the 16 stone tablets in front and sat down. No one was surprised he was able to sit there. It seemed quite obvious to everyone. Looking around, all the cultivators that sat on these 16 tablets were Nirvana Shatter old monsters, and Wang Lin knew most of them. After almost everyone was seated, a charming shadow arrived on Wang Lin's stone tablet. Li Qianmei blinked at Wang Lin and quietly sat down. After sitting down, Li Qianmei whispered as if she was talking to herself, "I am about to leave. Discover now." As she was sitting on Wang Lin's side, the wind blew by, causing a few strands of her hair to flutter before Wang Lin. The gentle fragrance from her body clearly entered Wang Lin's nose. The fragrance was very light. Just like Li Qianmei's tranquility, it could calm one's heart. At this moment, the auction began. The person responsible for the auction was an elder of the treasured jade sect with a square face. He floated above the square with the first item. It was a bell-like treasure with a number of fierce beast tattoos carved on it. After noticing her own hair reaching Wang Lin, Li Qianmei's face turned slightly red. She quickly pulled her hair back and casually bundled it up. When Wang Lin didn't look at Li Qianmei, but looked at the treasured jade sect elder, who was explaining the effect of the treasure. "I'll leave after the auction," Li Qianmei said softly, her eyes looking at the distant sky. No one knew what she was thinking. Wang Lin quietly said, "I'll send you off." At this moment, the bell was sold, and the elder of the treasured jade sect took out the second item. It was a pill. Li Qianmei revealed a gentle smile. She turned around and looked at Wang Lin with bright eyes. She softly said, "How will you send me off? Will you just be sending me off from Peng Lai?" "Okay." Wang Lin nodded and still didn't look at Li Qianmei. Li Qianmei looked at the side of Wang Lin's face. She pondered for a bit and softly said, "Or send me to the rank region." Wang Lin seantly pondered. "Or send me to the demon sect and resist the invasion of the fierce beasts with me?" Li Qianmei's voice was beautiful. It was like music that circled Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin was still silent. Li Qianmei turned around. She looked into the distance and let out a sigh. At this moment, the second item was sold. The elder of the treasured jade sect took out the third item. It was a painting. It had no mountain on it, but the river and lake on it were moving and looked very real. Li Qianmei was silent for a long time and softly said, "I originally wasn't going to leave this early, and there are still a few things I haven't figured out. However, Master sent a summon yesterday. The fierce beasts at the demon sect suddenly increased. All the disciples of the rank 9 sects must rush over to help as soon as possible. I don't know how long I'll be gone this time. Wang Lin slowly said, "Have a safe trip." When you were battling Wu Qing, I didn't act because Li Qiamei hesitated but was interrupted by Wang Lin. Wang Lin calmly said, "I understand." Li Qiamei looked at Wang Lin. After a while she whispered, "Do you really understand?" Wang Lin didn't answer but looked at the painting in the elder's hand as the cultivators offered. After pondering a bit, his voice immediately spread out. "This painting, I'll take it." After he spoke, everyone who was offering stopped. They all looked at Wang Lin and no longer offered. No one dared to compete with Wang Lin. The matter with Wu Qing was known by everyone. The reason Wu Qing had died, aside from his greed, was due to competing with this fiend for a treasure. Wang Lin's right hand reached at the void and took out the scroll from the elder of the treasured jade sect. He opened it, took out a lot, and turned around. This was the first time he had looked at Li Qianmei's beautiful face that could make one's heart race and those tranquil eyes. "A gift to you." Wang Lin handed over the painting. Li Qianmei silently pondered. After a long time, she smiled and took the painting. She stood up, biting her lower lip, and whispered, "If you find the person who found the jade of the heaven-breaking sect, please pass him this message. The heaven-breaking sect welcomes him." After she finished speaking, she no longer looked at Wang Lin and moved like a dancing butterfly. Her black hair suddenly turned into a stunning blue color, and she gradually disappeared before the eyes of the cultivators. She was still holding that painting. Wouldn't it be better to forget about each other, is it? 6,000 words in a major chapter, wishing for sharing, for likes on the video. Chapter 1177, Divine Devil Armor. Wouldn't it be better to forget about each other? Yes, Wang Lin didn't look at Li Qianmei as she left. Wang Lin's heart didn't move for this woman who was also named Lai. His heart was dead. It had died during that roar of indignation on the moon. His heart had been torn into pieces the moment Liu Mei took out that resentful soul. Rather than us relying on each other, wouldn't it be better to forget about each other? Two different types of emotions represented two different attitudes toward life and also two different choices. Throughout Wang Lin's life, he had met many women who were more beautiful, more talented, and more better than Li Qianmei in every aspect. Whether it was Red Butterfly, Xi Zifeng, Liu Mei, Mu Bingmei, Lu Yanfei, or just some he had brief encounters with. These women all passed by, but in the end, only Li Muwan and Liu Mei had entered his heart. Wang Lin was not one that understood emotions. The changes early on in his life had made him into a murderous devil, and both of his hands were soaked in blood. Even those self-proclaimed devils couldn't compare to Wang Lin. He didn't understand love. If he ever did, he only had an ignorant understanding of it back when he was a youth and hadn't started cultivating yet. He imagined he would one day pass the test and become an official. He would then return home with a wife by his side. Together they would accompany his parents until they were old. However, after the incident with the Tang family, Wang Lin even died once, and this changed his personality greatly. The sorrow enlightened him. Cultivation. The cultivation world only cared about the strong. Wang Lin didn't know his feelings for Li Muwan at all. After Li Muwan died, he spent over 1,000 years in solitude. He walked through the void alone in a daze, and as he walked down his path toward cultivation, he constantly recalled a feeling. Gradually. As he grew older, he understood. Li Muwan had walked into his heart as he recalled these past 1,000 years. She had entered very deep. Very deep. The other woman, Liu Mei, had also walked into Wang Lin's heart, but her path was very different. It was very painful. Very painful in the end. Liu Mei still won. But this victory was her tearing a hold in Wang Lin's dead heart and burying herself inside. Wang Lin's heart died and was torn apart by someone else. He was powerless. It'd be better to forget about each other. Li Qianmei's departure and spreading out her blue hair exposed her identity. In the entire Cloud Sea, she was the only person with blue hair. She didn't have to do this, but she still did. The genius of the rank 9 heaven-breaking sect Li Qianmei had sat next to Wang Lin and was also gifted a painting by Wang Lin. This was seen by all the surrounding cultivators. Li Qianmei had used this method to give people the answer to whether or not Wang Lin was a member of the God sect. The auction continued, but the gazes of the surrounding cultivators toward Wang Lin were different. Before, many were not certain of Wang Lin's identity as a member of the God sect. There were doubts hidden in their hearts, but they were well hidden. However, a majority of these doubts were dispelled by Xianxia's departure. The next item being auctioned is a mountain rock. The elder in charge of the auction looked at Wang Lin, and something appeared in his hand. This was an incomplete mountain stone. It was damaged everywhere and was a mess. It looked very ugly. Looking at the mountain stone, Wang Lin seemed to return back to all the fights he had back in Al-Heaven. The mountain stone had collapsed there as well. Wang Lin could only gather this much and had condensed it. It became an useless treasure in his storage space. 1,000 celestial jades. After a moment of silence, a sound came out from the surrounding cultivators. The scholar in white that knew Wang Lin softly said, 5,000 celestial jade. The Dao spell sect elder sitting on one of the tablets in front calmly said, 10,000 celestial jades. No one else offered for this stone. Aside from a few of the powerful cultivators, most people thought it was worthless. However, earlier, when Wang Lin handed the items to the treasured jade sect, everyone got a good look at what the two treasures were. Everyone knew that this mountain stone belonged to Wang Lin. A mere 10,000 celestial jades to make a friend with Wang Lin was something these cultivators were willing to spend. In the Cloud Sea, 10,000 celestial jades was not a small amount. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, as his right hand formed a seal and a restriction flew out toward the mountain stone. It fell on the stone, and a ripple echoed before disappearing. An ancient aura suddenly spread out from the mountain stone. This ancient aura contained the trace of time. This immediately caused the surrounding cultivators to become serious. The Nirvana Shatterer cultivators guarantee is phased, but the Nirvana Scryer and Nirvana Cleanser cultivators all stared at the mountain stone and began to ponder. Mountain Soul. The beautiful woman who knew Wang Lin was a bit surprised. She carefully looked at the stone before shaking her head and saying, unfortunately, it is broken. This isn't a normal mountain stone. It has celestial spiritual energy. Could this item be a mountain of the celestial realm? The scholar in white calmly said, 20,000 celestial jades. Although this item is useless for us Nirvana Shatterer cultivators, the juniors in the sect can comprehend the spell within more importantly. It likely came from the celestial realm, and was then refined into this. The elder of the Dao spell sect pondered for a moment and then slowly said, 30,000 celestial jade. 40,000 celestial jades. A voice came from the distance. It was Ouyang Long, who was sitting on a stone tablet in the back. The elder of the Dao spell sect said, 1,000 origin crystals. The surroundings were completely silent. No one else tried bidding, and in the end the elder of the Dao spell sect bought it. Although this mountain stone was uncommon, it didn't set off a wave in the auction. It was at most a ripple. However, the shock the next item brought was something not even Wang Lin expected. This treasure is an armor. The elder of the treasured jade sect took a deep breath. There was hint of doubt and excitement in his eyes. He waved his right hand, and a blob of black gas appeared. There was the vague shape of a suit of armor inside. The moment this black gas appeared, the expressions of some of the surrounding cultivators changed, and they looked closed. This included the old man with a face full of scars, the scholar in white, and company. I asked fellow cultivator Lu to lift the seal so we can get a better look. The old man clasped his hands at Wang Lin and revealed that this item belonged to Wang Lin. Wang Lin paid attention to the old man's expression. After pondering a bit, his right hand pointed at the suit of armor and a restriction flew out at the black gas. The black gas seemed to boil as it violently churned and layers of restrictions dissipated. Finally, all the restrictions disappeared and the black gas was no longer a blur. It quickly contracted into a black suit of armor and gave off a monstrous devilish energy. This devilish energy was so strong that the world changed colors. A giant vortex vaguely appeared in the sky. It was completely black and slowly rotated. The moment the seal on the armor was removed, the surroundings completely quieted down. All the cultivators' eyes opened wide, and even the Nirvana Shatterer old monsters were startled. Their eyes shined like they never shined before. Some of the cultivators stood up in shock and disbelief filled their eyes. The old man with a face full of scars gasped and muttered, God sect devil armor. Divine devil armor. It really is the divine devil armor. The divine devil armor that only the god sect possess. The devilish energy from it is extremely dense. It should be a rank 4 divine devil armor. The entire auction began to stir due to the appearance of this suit of armor. The cultivators that could come to this auction were all knowledgeable, were very powerful, and were all mentally strong. However, at this moment, their mental strength collapsed due to this divine devil armor. The elder of the Dao spell sect clasped his hands at Wang Lin and said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, do you really want to sell this?" After he spoke, the surroundings immediately became quiet. Everyone's gazes gathered on Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the scattered devil armor. He didn't think that even this armor would be unexpectedly related to the god sect. A strong interest toward the Cloud Seas god sect appeared in Wang Lin's heart. Wang Lin calmly said, "I only want origin crystals." "Good. I am willing to take out 3,000 origin crystals to buy this," the elder of the Dao spell sect said with a decisive tone. "This woman offers 5,000 origin crystals." The old woman who traded Wang Lin the star map looked at the armor with a mysterious gaze in her eyes as she made the offer. The scholar in white took a deep breath and said, "I believe all of you want to buy this to study the God Sect's spells. Only God Sect members own something like this, and they rarely leak out. I must obtain this. I offer 8,000 origin crystals." The Dao spell sect elder hesitated for a bit and clenched his teeth. 10,000 origin crystals? The Dao spell sect didn't have that many origin crystals. 10,000 was already his limit. The moment this price came out, the surrounding cultivators all gasped. This level of auction was not something most people could participate in. Just at this moment, an eccentric voice echoed. "Rank 7 Miluo sect offers 13,000 origin crystals." The surrounding cultivators all looked over. It was a youth in yellow holding a fan in his hand who had shouted the offer. The elder of the Dao spell sect stared at the armor and let out a sigh. He stopped bidding. The rest all became silent. This was their limit. They didn't have that many origin crystals. 15,000 origin crystals. Ouyang Long's voice echoed, and there was a hint of trembling within it. Even for him, this price made his mind tremble. The youth in yellow frowned and said, 18,000 origin crystals. 20,000 origin crystals. Ouyang Long clenched his teeth. 25,000 origin crystals. There was a flash of coldness in the eyes of the youth in yellow. 30,000 origin crystals. Sweat appeared on Ouyang Long's forehead. "You were merely from the rank 5 treasured jade sect. Where did you get so many origin crystals?" The young man in yellow stood up and stared at Ouyang Long. There was a flash of killing intent in his eyes, but he recognized Ouyang Long's identity. Nearly 3,800 words, already quite long. Day by day people say it's short. Look at others. All are 2,000 words a chapter. Leo is that long. Wouldn't you cast a like for Leo's video? Chapter 1178. Qualification. The origin crystals belong to me personally. I don't need to report this to your Miluo sect. An ancient voice came from the distance, and then a ray of light landed next to Ouyang Long, revealing it to be Master Ashen Pine. The youth in yellow snorted and said, 35,000 origin crystals. 40,000. Master Ashen Pine was very calm, as if these 40,000 origin crystals were insignificant to him. This abnormal scene immediately caused the surrounding cultivators to look at Master Ashen Pine in shock. Master Ashen's sect was a head elder of the treasured jade sect who didn't even need to give face to the sect master. He had many direct disciples and had enough power to confront the sect master. However, he was very low-key, so the sect master had never asked about all the celestial jades and origin crystals he had gathered. 50,000 origin crystals? The youth in yellow stared at Master Ashen Pine and clenched his teeth. Master Ashen Pine sneered. He didn't care about exposing the fact that he had a large amount of origin crystals and catching the attention of the upper regions. After today, he will leave and will likely never return to Penglai. Not to mention his chance of success will be much greater this time. Once he succeeds, his cultivation level will increase greatly, and after that, he will have nothing to fear. Master Ashen Pine had his hands behind his back as he calmly said, 60,000. You! The youth in yellow took a deep breath. After thinking for a moment, he was about to offer 70,000. Master Ashen Pine coldly looked at the youth in yellow and suddenly smiled. Your Miluo sect didn't bring many people, and the trip back to the rank region is far. You should be careful on your way back. The surroundings immediately became very quiet, and their gazes fell on Master Ashen Pine. It was extremely rare for someone to threaten someone from the rank 7 sects. What backing does this Master Ashen Pine have to dare to be so bold? The youth in yellow looked at Master Ashen Pine. After a long time, he let out a cold snort and flew off into the horizon. Master Ashen Pine's expression was neutral as he clasped his hands at Wang Lin. He then threw out a bag and then reached out toward the suit of armor. The armor flew into his hand, and after taking a closer look, he revealed a smile. Fellow cultivator Lu, the deposit is in the bag as well, a total of 80,000 origin crystals. Let us go? Wang Lin caught the bag and scanned it with his divine sense before quietly putting it away. Master Ashen Pine had a high cultivation level and was very cunning. He was also a ruthless person. However, no matter how cunning he was, he couldn't match the All-Seer. Wang Lin had even dared to fight against the All-Seer, so how could he be afraid of a mere Master Ashen Pine? After nodding slightly, Wang Lin stepped forward and flew off into the sky. Master Ashen Pine smiled and flew off as well. He and Wang Lin disappeared into the horizon. Due to this, no one else was in the mood to continue this auction and all left. After leaving Peng Lai, Wang Lin and Master Ashen Pine moved at an extreme speed through the star fog. Just at this moment, the sound of a flute echoed in the fog. The star fog in the distance churned, and the blue-haired Li Chai-mei slowly walked out and smiled. Wang Lin stopped and pondered a bit. He turned toward Master Ashen Pine and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine, go first. I'll catch up a bit later." Master Ashen Pine smiled and handed a jade to Wang Lin. He then laughed and said, "Fellow cultivator Lu can go to the location marked on the map. A few old friends of mine will be waiting there." With that, he looked at Li Chai-mei and clasped his hands before flying off into the fog. He wasn't worried Wang Lin wouldn't come. Wang Lin looked at Li Chai-mei, and after pondering for a bit, he calmly said, "Didn't you leave? Why did you come back?" Li Chai-mei blinked and whispered, "I was going to leave, but I remember you said you were going to send me off." Wang Lin frowned and said, "I'll send you off here with your cultivation level. There shouldn't be much danger for you there, but you should still be cautious." Li Chai-mei shook her head and said, "Who knows? Perhaps we will never meet again after I leave from Teacher S-Tone. This outbreak seems somewhat grave." Wang Lin silently pondered. Seeing that Wang Lin didn't intend to speak, Li Chai-mei frowned. She looked at Wang Lin and let out a sigh. "That Master Ashen Pine is very secretive. I originally intended to go with you." Li Chai-mei gently bit her lower lip as she looked at Wang Lin and took off an emerald bracelet from her right hand. "You answered my 3 questions before, and we agreed for me to give you 1 item per question. I haven't given you the 3rd item yet. This is a protective treasure. You should keep it to protect yourself." Li Chai-mei handed the bracelet to Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at Li Chai-mei with a somewhat complicated look. He took the bracelet and took 1 glance at. It was still warm from Li Chai-mei's body. He shook his head and returned it to Li Chai-mei. Li Chai-mei looked at Wang Lin and quietly asked, "Why won't you take it?" "It is too expensive. I can afford it. If there is nothing else, I'll be leaving." With that, Wang Lin turned and was about to leave. Li Chai-mei calmly threw the jade bracelet to the side. It turned into a ray of light and disappeared among the star fog. "Since you don't want it, then I don't want it either." Wang Lin silently looked at Li Chai-mei. "Since you don't want my item, take back this painting." Li Chai-mei waved her hand. A painting appeared and she handed it to Wang Lin. Li Chai-mei calmly said, "The lake and river on the painting are beautiful, but it was lacking vitality, so I added a few things." After taking the painting, Wang Lin didn't open it, but after silently pondering for a bit, his right hand reached out. A crack to this storage space opened, and a ray of golden light flew out. The ray of light landed in Wang Lin's hand. The golden light dissipated and turned into a pen. Wang Lin waved his hand and began to draw a rune with the pen. His hand didn't stop as he drew stroke after stroke. It wasn't until the rune was extremely complex that he stopped. This pen is a celestial treasure, and when used with this rune, you should be able to display shocking strength with your cultivation level. Wang Lin let the pen go. A golden light surrounded the pen as it floated in the void. No longer looking at Li Qianmei, Wang Lin turned around and flew off into the distance. You answered my 3 questions, I won't let you escape. Li Qianmei smiled as she looked at where Wang Lin disappeared to. She picked up her flute, put it next to her mouth, and began to play. The sound of the flute echoed through the fog. When Wang Lin heard the flute in the distance, he looked at the painting in his hand. He opened it up and saw that the river and lake were no longer there. They had dried up and there were 2 fishes laying next to each other, keeping each other alive. Wang Lin frowned and revealed a wry smile. He put away the painting and flew away accompanied by the sound of the flute. After a long time, Li Qianmei put down the flute and waved her hand. She put away the golden pen and walked off into the void. Wang Lin moved like lightning according to the map Master Ashen Pine had given him and dashed through the fog. However, a moment later, he stopped and stared straight ahead. In the fog not far from him there was a bright emerald light and there was a bracelet floating there. Not just Wang Lin, even Li Qianmei wouldn't have expected the bracelet that she had randomly thrown to end up along the route Wang Lin would take. Even if she had thrown it in the right direction. Space was vast and filled with fog. Even though it had gone in the same direction, the chance of seeing it was like finding a needle in a haystack. Wang Lin silently looked at the jade bracelet for a long time before reaching out. The jade bracelet fell in his hand. He let out a sigh and flew away. There was a very small wild continent not far away from Panglai in the Rank region. There were no beasts there, and cultivators rarely came here. However, right now there were 3 cultivators sitting there. Master Ashen Pine, that place is the most secretive place between us. Why do you want that person named Lu to come? The person who spoke was the old man with a face filled with scars. He was the same old man that Wang Lin had met at Master Ashen Pine's auction. Master Ashen Pine sat there with a calm expression and said, that person can use the war spirit print. With him there, my chance of success will increase by 20%. In addition, I'll have to trouble fellow cultivator Zhao's spell to lead the way. After it is over, according to our previous agreement, fellow cultivator Zhao will get to choose 3 materials first. Master Ashen Pine's gaze fell on another person. This was also someone Wang Lin was familiar with. It was the old woman in green. The old woman said with a hoarse voice, I'll do my best. Just at this moment, the fog above the wild continent churned, and a shrill laugh echoed. The fog was pushed aside, and an old man wearing a black and white Taoist robe with a crown on his head appeared. With just a few steps, he arrived next to the 3 of them as if he had used spatial bending. Just as this old man appeared, a dense smell of blood appeared. There were countless soul fragments hiding in the fog behind him. They would sometimes reveal their heads and let out bursts of silent yet mournful cries. Master Ashen Pine, I met some enemies along the way, so I was a bit late. The old man's face was pale, but his eyes gave off an eerie glow. Master Cloud Soul. The eyes of the old man with the face covered in scars narrowed the moment he saw the crown. The face of the old man with the crown twitched and he revealed a gloomy smile. Fellow cultivator Peng, we meet again. After that he looked at the old woman, and in the end his gaze fell on Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine, is it only the 4 of us? Master Ashen Pine licked his lips and slowly said, there are 3 more. They should be here soon. Just after he spoke, the star fog churned once more and a person walked out. White robe, fluttering black hair, and an indifferent gaze. Wang Lin walked out from the fog and looked at the 4 of them. A Nirvana Cleanser Jr.? Master Ashen Pine, you want a Nirvana Cleanser Jr. to be involved in this? Master Cloud Soul frowned. He's not a Nirvana Cleanser Jr.? Master Ashen Pine smiled. Oh? Master Cloud Soul's eyes lit up. When Wang Lin approached, he waved his right hand, and the countless soul fragments charged at Wang Lin. The last day of June, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. A sweep of the like button for the VIDEO each month. The June ticket expires tonight at 12. Chapter 1179. Crowd of Devils gathers. Mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer. When Wang Lin got close, he looked at the old man with the crown and felt the monstrous killing intent from this old man. This person also used souls for his spells, and he was clearly a famous evil cultivator in the Cloud Sea. At this moment, as Master Cloud's soul waved his sleeves, an endless tide of soul fragments charged at Wang Lin to devour him. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. a powerful force appeared and collided with those soul fragments. A thunderous rumble echoed and the surrounding star fog was all pushed back. A gust of wind blew by the soul fragments as they let out shrills, and a small portion of them immediately collapsed. Wang Lin's body flickered and he retreated 5 steps. Every step he took caused the earth to tremble and left deep footprints. After 5 steps, his face was a bit pale as he stared at Master Ashenpine and shouted, "Master Ashenpine, what is the meaning of this?" Master Ashenpine laughed as he stood up and waved his hand. There was a flash of gold light, and the gold light suddenly turned into thousands of flying sword. These flying sword linked together with a click to form a sword curtain and stopped Master Cloud Soul's soul fragments from attacking again. Master Cloud Soul, fellow cultivator Lu is an honored guest I invited. I hope you will give his old man some face. Master Cloud Soul, who wore a crown, coldly looked at Wang Lin and revealed a fake smile. You hide yourself, but you do have Nirvana Shatterer spells. As he spoke, his right hand reached out and the countless soul fragments gathered. They turned into 9 giant soul flames behind him. They gave off a crackling sounds as they burned. Fellow cultivator Lu, Master Cloud Soul is only testing your strength and has no malicious intent. Please don't mind. Master Ashenpine smiled and clasped his hands. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy and he didn't speak. He sat down not far from them and looked into the distance. He revealed no emotion on his face, making it impossible for outsiders to see what he was thinking. Master Ashenpine sneered in his heart. He and Master Cloud Soul looked at each other with subtle gazes and then quickly withdrew them. Master Cloud Soul sent a message into Master Ashenpine's ears. This person does have the ability to kill Wu Qing, but there is still a gap between him and mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivators like us. If I attack on my own, I can kill him in 10 breaths of time. If we join together, we can kill him instantly. Master Ashenpine closed his eyes and sent out a message to Master Cloud Soul. What makes me dread him the most isn't his possible identity as a member of the God sect. It is that he is obviously a Nirvana cleanser cultivator, but his spell could instantly kill Wu Qing. He is obviously hiding his cultivation. If I don't know his true cultivation level, it might hinder things. However, after seeing you two fight, I am a bit relieved. However, this person is extremely cunning, so once we enter, try to test him a few more times. Master Cloud Soul's eyes lit up in agreement. Wang Lin lowered his head while he sat there so no one could see the flash of coldness in his eyes. Although he looked like he had used full force, he was actually holding back. It would not be wise to reveal his true strength before these old monsters. Mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer is indeed very strong. Just the origin energy contained in that spell is not something an early-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator can deal with. The difference is like a young and a strong man, however. If I were to fight with my most powerful treasures, it's not like I would lose. What I need to prevent is Master Ashenpine, and that person from teaming up. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He didn't reveal the slightest clue as to what he was thinking. The old man with the face full of scars saw the whole battle. He silently turned the ring on his finger and his gaze occasionally swept past Master Ashenpine. There was still that old woman in green who just calmly sat there with her eye closed. She didn't look at what happened at all, as if she was asleep. Time gradually passed. Day and night mixed together on this fog-covered wild continent. It was impossible to distinguish between night and day. After about 1 hour, a ray of sword energy flew in from the distance. This sword energy seemed extremely sharp and contained fierce sword energy. This sword energy didn't make the star fog move at all and directly pierced through toward the 5 of them. Before the sword energy got close, a sword pressure descended from the sky. This sword pressure contained an extremely tyrannical aura. Master Ashenpine raised his head and smiled. There was a clang, and the sword energy arrived. It stabbed into the earth before the elder named Pang. It was a 7-foot-long sword and was 2 fingers wide. It was white and shrouded in steam, and traces of cold energy spread out from it. The golden tassel on the sword hilt fluttered and stirred the void, causing ripples to appear above the sword. The ripples became even more violent, and a person walked out. This person was short. At first glance, it looked like a boy. Looking closely, this person had twisted features and was as green as a ghost. He looked terrifying, and if a mortal saw him, they would die from terror. He stepped out from the ripples and sat down next to the sword. He was only half a head taller than the sword that was stabbed into the ground. What kind of map did you give me, Master Ashenpine? It took me a long time to find this place. This person's voice was sharp. He gloomily looked at everyone and was startled when he saw Wang Lin, but he didn't say anything. Master Ashen Pine smiled even wider. Little brother Duanmu, you can blame me for this. It is you who was unable to find this place. The child snorted and sharply said, You said that place has reincarnation pills. Is it true? Master Ashen Pine nodded and said, It is 100% true. When I entered, I was only at the outer region and couldn't go deeper, but I saw a reincarnation pill. However, it was guarded by a fierce beast, so I couldn't obtain it. What fierce beast? A rank 12 fog dragon. The child silently pondered, then his eyes lit up. Reincarnation pill. When Wang Lin heard this, his expression remained neutral, but his heart was moved. However, he had never heard of the reincarnation pill before. Looking at Master Ashen Pine's expression, this reincarnation pill didn't seem to be the focus of his trip. While he pondered, Wang Lin's gaze swept past the boy. This boy was also a mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. The boy pondered for a moment and said to Master Ashen Pine, If we are not leaving, does that mean there is still one more? There is still one missing. Before Master Ashen Pine finished speaking, he suddenly raised his head and looked into the distance. At almost the same time, the boy and Master Cloud's soul looked up as well. Wang Lin clearly felt the earth tremble slightly. He looked over and saw a tall figure closing in on the wild continent from the fog. The figure got closer and closer until a large, burly man wearing purple was revealed. As he approached, the earth trembled even more violently. Countless small pieces of rubble flew everywhere. The moment this burly man closed in, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and closely looked behind the burly man. There were fierce beasts following behind him. Although there weren't too many, there were still hundreds. However, their ranks weren't that high. In the blink of an eye, the burly man arrived everyone. He coldly looked at everyone and calmly said, I have arrived. No one saw him make a move, but the moment he spoke, those hundreds of beasts began to roar, and the sound was earth-shattering. Some of the fierce beasts suddenly collapsed into a pile of flesh and blood. Soon, all the fierce beasts behind him collapsed and died. When these fierce beasts died, the earth was dyed red and the smell of blood became dense. At the same time, the souls of the beasts all gathered before the burly man and rapidly condensed. They eventually turned into a black vortex, and then the burly man pinched it with his right hand. The vortex immediately condensed into a black pill. The burly man devoured the pill in his hand and calmly said, I came here, so I refined all the fierce beasts here. Battle Beast Sect. Master Cloud's soul's expression became serious and he clasped his hands at the burly man. He said, I wonder who fellow cultivator is in the Battle Beast Sect. I am Master Cloud's soul. I am friends with the Honorable Master Botane. The boy's expression also became serious, and he clasped his hands at the burly man. Master Botane is my senior brother. I am Chen Tanjun. The burly man's voice was calm, and there was a hint of pride in it. This person is at the early stage of Nirvana Shatterer, but to be able to get the attention of all these mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer old monsters means that aside from his sect, there is something else. More importantly, this Battle Beast Sect's spell is interesting. Also, he said that he was already here, but no one noticed him. There is something strange. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the burly man. The Battle Beast Sect's hiding ability is indeed brilliant. I didn't realize Brother Chen was here at all. Master Ashen Pine got up and laughed. Chen Tanjun nodded slightly and said, Master Ashen Pine, I was called by the rank region and must hurry back to the sect. I don't have much time, so you must be quick. Master Ashen Pine nodded. Then his gaze swept everyone once, and he said, I am very grateful that all of you could come. All of us will obtain something in this trip. None of you will walk away empty-handed. He paused for a moment before looking at Wang Lin and saying, Fellow cultivator Lu, aside from the origin crystals, you can also choose a few treasures as my sign of gratitude. Wang Lin silently nodded. I won't say any more. Once we are there, I'll give a detailed introduction. This way. After he finished speaking, he took a step and charged into the star fog. The elder named Pang followed closely after, and the old woman in green followed. The Battle Beast Sect Xianxia stepped forward, and 2 strands of black gas turned into 2 eagle-like beasts as he followed. Fellow cultivator Lu, this way. Master Cloud's soul looked at Wang Lin with a smile that wasn't a smile. Wang Lin's expression was calm and he flew forward. Master Cloud Soul flew at the rear and coldly looked at Wang Lin. The six of them formed 6 rays of light across space, with Master Ashen Pine leading the way. In dreams, Leo sees his video standing in 3rd place on the popular charts. Hoping to garner more fan support, and looking for help from you all to climb even higher in the rankings this month. Chapter 1180, Extraordinary. The starry sky was covered in fog, as the 6 rays of light flew through the sky. Master Ashen Pine seemed to be very familiar with this path. He didn't even take out a jade to check for directions. He just quickly flew toward the location. With his Nirvana Shatterer cultivation, he was like a bolt of thunder when flying at full speed. Everyone behind him also used their full cultivation and flew faster. Wang Lin fell behind. After all, his real cultivation level was not Nirvana Shatterer. He remained calm as he took out the talisman and placed it on his body. A gust of wind appeared around him, and he charged out. They flew at full speed, and a few days later the fog became even more dense. They were within the deepest part of the rank region, and they could vaguely see the shadow of a wild continent. Here it is. Master Ashen Pine rushed out and got close to the wild continent. This wild continent wasn't too big, but it had a lot of fierce beasts. Just standing above it, you could hear the constant roars of fierce beasts. Not many people know about this wild continent, and even those that know find the secret I hid here. Master Ashen Pine smiled as he looked at the continent with reminiscence in his eyes. Fellow cultivator Pang, I will trouble you to find all the cultivators on this wild continent and kill them all. Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man with the face full of scars. The old man named Pang nodded and then disappeared. His divine sense spread out across the wild continent, and he continued to search. He killed every cultivator he found, regardless of their cultivation level or sect. Wang Lin looked at the wild continent under his feet. He had a feeling that there was something wrong, but he couldn't tell what. At this moment he squatted down and grabbed a handful of dirt to examine. The eyes of the old woman in green also lit up as she looked around and became serious. Master Cloud Soul looked at Wang Lin and sneered. The secret of this wild continent couldn't be seen through unless you had lived here for a long time. The boy also frowned as he looked around. No one knew what he was thinking. Only Chen Tianjun wasn't moved at all. He just sat there and cultivated with his eyes closed. It didn't take long for the old man named Pang to return. He nodded at Master Ashen Pine but didn't speak. Master Ashen Pine got a bit excited and let out a deep breath. Then his hands formed a seal and he waved his arms. Large amounts of origin energy suddenly gathered around him. It stirred up the fog and turned into a giant vortex before him. Master Ashen Pine's white hair flowed without any wind. He let out a roar and both of his hands mercilessly pressed down on the earth. The earth trembled with a bang and endless rumbles echoed. As the earth trembled, crackling sounds could be heard. Cracks moved like dragons as they extended into the distance. The earth shook even more violently. A towering mountain to the east released a harsh glow. Then mountains in the north, south, and west sides also released similar lights. The lights from the 4 mountains became even stronger and immediately spread out. If one looked from above, they would see that the light from the 4 mountains linked together to form a 4-mountain formation. The earth within the formation trembled and shattered, and gravel floated into the air. In the blink of an eye, it was as if a layer of earth had been scraped off from the area within the 4 mountains, as even more gravel floated into the air. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he looked at the gravel flying into the air. The earth was as smooth as a mirror. There were no bumps or concaves at all. There was a giant rune hidden underground. The rune was imprinted on the earth with a spell and occupied a majority of the continent. The gravel was added later on to hide the rune. Looking at this gravel flying into the air and disappearing, Wang Lin felt like a bolt of lightning hit him. He looked at where the gravel was flying off to and was shocked. He thought of the reason why he felt like this place was strange. This wild continent was completely motionless. The continents in the cloud sea were not stationary, but slowly drifting across space. This movement was very slow and difficult to detect, but it existed. Mortals would never feel it, but after one reaches a certain cultivation level, they would vaguely feel it if they calmed down. Wang Lin wasn't a native cultivator of the cloud sea. His former star system was full planets and not these floating continents. As a result, this feeling became very clear to him. If it was a native cultivator, they could easily miss this matter. A motionless wild continent, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. There was not a single piece of gravel left remaining on the earth between the four mountains. Master Ashen Pine sat down and his right hand reached at the void. A crack to his storage space opened and celestial jades flew out from inside. The moment they landed on the earth, all the celestial spiritual energy inside them was drained and they turned into dust. As the celestial jades continued to dissipate, the earth absorbed the dense celestial spiritual energy and the rune became even more clear. It gave off a gentle glow. After a short 15 minutes, more than 100,000 celestial jades were used. The rune became brighter and brighter until the entire wild continent was shining. Celestial formation activate! Master Ashen Pine roared, his voice like a thunder rumble. At this moment, the rune on the ground shined violently, and there was an earth-shattering tremble. Wang Lin clearly felt that after the rune had absorbed enough celestial spiritual energy, it spread across the entire continent. The wild continent suddenly began to move. It wasn't trembling, but moving. This continent was moving to the north. It was a detectable movement. One could only imagine how fast it was moving. Not only Wang Lin, but the boy, Chen Tianjun, and the old woman in green were all shocked by this. They spread out their divine senses and carefully observed. As the rune shined, the continent moved even faster. As the rumbling continued, it completely moved away from where it was before. A 7-colored crack appeared where the center of the wild continent was. The crack wasn't very large, only 5 feet wide. The 7-colored light made this very small crack extremely conspicuous in space. "This is..." the boy gasped as he stared at the 7-colored crack and became excited. His features were already twisted, and now that he was excited, he was even more terrifying. What a big move. The burly man, Chen Tianjun from the Battle Beast sect, looked at Master Ashen Pine before his gaze fell back on the 7-colored crack. This wild continent was originally not here. I accidentally passed through here just as the crack appeared. Afterward, in order to hide it, I moved a continent here to cover the crack up so outsiders wouldn't find it. Master Ashen Pine smiled as he spoke. There was pride in his voice. The old woman in green looked at the crack and said, "Where does this 7-colored crack lead to?" "You'll know once we get there." Master Ashen Pine laughed as he controlled the continent below them to move faster. In the blink of an eye, they were far from the crack. This crack isn't stable and can be entered directly. If 2 of us enter it, it will collapse. Although it won't dissipate, it will shrink, making it difficult to return. Therefore, we must use this wild continent as a guide and smash our way in. That way, this crack won't collapse, and due to the seal on this continent, the impact will be a lot weaker when we return. As Master Ashen Pine explained this, the 7-colored crack gradually disappeared into the distance. The continent under everyone's feet moved even faster, but it suddenly stopped. Master Ashen Pine's hands formed a seal and pointed at the continent. The continent started moving even faster than before as it smashed toward the 7-colored crack. It moved faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, they reached the limit. The speed caused the continent to tremble violently, and large amounts of rocks fell off the edge. If you looked from above, you would clearly see that the speed of the continent wasn't any slower than a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. In fact, it was even faster. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the stars as the continent moved even faster. The people on the continent became serious as they stared at the 7-colored crack that was getting close. They were all on guard. Although this sounds slow, it all happened in an instant. The continent immediately crashed down into the 7-colored crack. At this moment, the 7-colored light intensified and seemed to light up the area. When the continent crashed, the crack seemed to have gotten ripped open by force and instantly became larger. "Go!" shouted Master Ashen Pine as he charged out toward the crack. Everyone else also used their full speed and entered the crack. At this moment, the only 2 people outside were Master Cloud Soul and Wang Lin. Master Cloud Soul coldly looked at Wang Lin, and Wang Lin let out a cold snort in his heart, but he headed straight for the crack. However, just as he was about to enter the crack, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and he suddenly looked back. Master Cloud Soul's eyes narrowed. At the moment Wang Lin turned back, his right hand reached at the void, and an iron sword suddenly appeared in his hand. It was covered in rust, but it was an iron sword that contained a heaven-shaking aura. From yesterday until now, Leo has only slept for 2 hours. Can't take it anymore. Today there's only the first watch. Leo wants to catch up on sleep. After the salon ends, the missing chapters will be compensated. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1181, Master Cloud's Soul is Lost. Wang Lin had his own plot going into this 7-colored crack, and it was bound to have conflict with Master Ashen Pine. Wang Lin could deal with a mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, and even against two he would be fine as long as the second one didn't have a good relationship with Master Ashen Pine. Wang Lin had secretly observed the boy named Duanmu. He was a ruthless person, and his relationship with Master Ashen Pine was merely for their own benefits. As for Chen Tianjun, he didn't have a very close relationship with Master Ashen Pine. He must have had his own plans. The only ones that had a close relationship with Master Ashen Pine were two people. The first was the old man named Pang, and the other was Master Cloud's Soul. According to Wang Lin's analysis, it was due to Master Cloud's Soul that Master Ashen Pine could calmly invite everyone. After all, with the two of them working together and the old man named Pang on their side, that team was already invincible among them. Therefore, destroying Master Cloud's Soul would be equal to breaking one of Master Ashen Pine's arm. Master Cloud's Soul had ill intent and had been observing him this whole time. Wang Lin decided to attack first and not give them a chance to join forces. Right now was the best chance to attack. Mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer. Thinking about how he was going to battle a mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, Wang Lin felt excited. With the iron sword in his hand, he mercilessly slashed down. The power of a pseudo-Nirvana void treasure was heaven-shaking. At this moment, a monstrous ray of sword energy shot at Master Cloud's Soul. Master Cloud's Soul's expression changed. He was not far from Wang Lin and was very close to the 7-colored crack. He had no time to think as the sword energy closed in instantly. Master Cloud's Soul let out a roar, and his hands formed a seal. The soul flame behind him flew out to confront Wang Lin's sword energy. The soul flame shot at Wang Lin and collided with the sword energy. A thunderous rumble echoed, and the soul flame collapsed. It wasn't able to stop the sword energy from piercing through at all. At this moment of crisis, Master Cloud's Soul's eyes widened in anger. At the moment it closed in, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a gush of essence blood. This blood turned into a skull that devoured the ray of sword energy. There was a heaven-shaking bang as Master Cloud's Soul's body trembled, and his face turned pale. His eyes were filled with shock, but he was, after all, a mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, so Wang Lin's sword energy wasn't able to seriously injure him. The impact knocked Wang Lin back a few steps, and he was about to disappear into the crack. You looking for death, Junior? Master Cloud's Soul let out a roar and rushed forward. He was very fast and closed in on Wang Lin in an instant. Wang Lin didn't have time to let the iron sword use its full attack. There was a cold flash in his eyes. This wasn't outside his expectations. A mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator wasn't easy to kill. His purpose was to injure him. It was all preparation for what will happen next. Wang Lin retreated and was about to completely enter the crack. Master Cloud's Soul closed in and was half a foot into the crack. He lifted his hand and was about to use a spell, but at this moment, Wang Lin revealed a smile that wasn't a smile. He opened his mouth and shouted, "Stop!" The celestial origin energy inside his body surged like crazy and turned into the stop spell that surrounded Master Cloud's Soul. In the blink of an eye, Master Cloud's Soul's body paused. With his cultivation level, he only needed a moment to break the invisible silk threads formed by the stop spell, but it was enough. Just as Wang Lin entered the crack, a ray of sword energy shot out at Master Cloud's Soul's head. A punch filled with ancient god power also shot out at him. The ray of sword energy closed in. Master Cloud's Soul broke free from the stop spell in time to dodge, but he let out a miserable groan and blood gushed out from his right arm. The sword energy had chopped off his right arm. At this moment, the ancient god punch arrived. Although Master Cloud's Soul blocked it with his spell, it caused his body to move to the side by large amount. Fear appeared in his eyes. You couldn't just arbitrarily move while being transferred through the crack. If you did, you would immediately be teleported to another location when crossing between the two realms. Wang Lin had passed through many spatial cracks. Although he hadn't entered the seven-colored crack before, he concluded that all cracks between two realms were like this. This seven-colored crack also wasn't stable, so he was even more certain. His purpose wasn't to attempt to kill a mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. Instead, it was to injure Master Cloud's soul and change his transfer location the moment he entered the crack. All of this happened in a flash. It was unimaginably fast. At the moment he entered the crack, Wang Lin's vision blurred and his origin soul suffered the severe backlash from using the stop spell, but he suppressed it by force. When he regained his vision, he appeared in a strange world. There was a sky and earth here, but the sky gave off a seven-color glow. Even the earth was seven-colored due to this light. However, this world wasn't clear but shrouded in fog. Only a few places didn't have fog. Wang Lin didn't look at the scene too closely. His eyes lit up and he looked around at the people who had teleported here. Master Cloud Soul was not here. Seeing this, Wang Lin relaxed a bit. He had made a gamble, and now he knew he had won his bet. What he did was extremely dangerous. Master Cloud Soul wasn't prepared, so his spell got interrupted by the stop spell. If that spell had shot out, things wouldn't have ended so quickly. Everyone was on an altar-like place that was only 1,000 feet wide. The old man named Pang looked around and recalled the past. This was his third time here. The first time they came, many of their friends died. The second time, more of them died. Today, including himself, there were only 3 of them left. The eyes of the boy named Duanmu looked at the fog ahead as he licked his lips and muttered, "That fog is not star fog." The Battle Beast sect Xianxia got very excited after arriving here. He took a few deep breaths, and his eyes revealed a strange light. Only the old woman in green frowned slightly. No one knew what she was thinking about. Master Ashen Pine's expression was excited, but his gaze immediately became serious. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, where is Master Cloud's soul?" Wang Lin's expression was calm and frowned. "How would I know where he went? Master Cloud's soul was behind you, and the 2 of you were the last ones to enter." "Did an accident happen outside?" Master Ashen Pine frowned. The good mood he had from returning here disappeared with Master Cloud's soul's disappearance, and he had a bad feeling. Wang Lin calmly said, "I don't know if any accident happened outside, but when I entered the crack there was no accident." The old man named Pang stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, I noticed before that fellow cultivator Cloud Soul was not far away from you. There is no reason for you have entered but him to go missing." Master Ashen Pine's expression was gloomy as he looked at Wang Lin. His heart was already extremely angry. The words between the 3 of them aroused the attention of the rest of the cultivators. The boy named Duanmu smiled and said, "Interesting. We can even lose a person by entering a crack." The old woman in green looked at Wang Lin but didn't speak. Chen Tianjun frowned. He ignored all of this while he looked at the fog in the distance. There was a hint of feverish excitement in his eyes. "Fellow cultivator Pang should be careful with his words. If you say things so thoughtlessly, you might invite dire misfortune." Wang Lin sneered and looked at the old man named Pang. The old man named Pang trembled. He thought about Wu Qing's death and regretted saying so much. He then looked at Master Ashen Pine. "Fellow cultivator Lu, please give me an explanation." Master Ashen Pine stared at Wang Lin. He knew that Master Cloud Soul had been watching this youth in white. Now that he was missing, this person was the prime suspect. "What a joke!" Wang Lin laughed in anger. He looked indifferently at Master Ashen Pine and sneered. "Master Cloud Soul is at the mid-stage of Nirvana Shatterer, and I am not his match. Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine wants an explanation from me, but that is something I am unable to give. Master Cloud Soul has legs and a brain. Why would he report to me where he is going? Ridiculous. If you want a reason to battle, then I'll accompany you to the end." A cold light flashed through Wang Lin's eyes and his words were sharp. The boy named Duanmu looked at Wang Lin and said to Master Ashen Pine in a sharp voice, "Interesting." However, Master Ashen Pine, fellow cultivator Lu's words are very reasonable. Master Cloud Soul has legs and a brain. Maybe he didn't want to come in, or he didn't want to be with us and went to another place. Master Ashen Pine frowned tightly. He had doubts in his heart as well. With Master Cloud Soul's cultivation level, unless this person named Lu was hiding a much higher cultivation level, there was no way Master Cloud Soul would be killed in such a short period of time. His gaze swept past Wang Lin. Master Ashen Pine denied the idea that Master Cloud Soul was killed, especially when he considered that Master Cloud Soul was like himself, who was very familiar with this place. They had both entered twice already. Could it be that Master Cloud Soul found another method of entry and used a special method to teleport away? Although this is possible, it could also be possible that this Lu cultivator fought Master Cloud Soul and caused him to be teleported to another place. But if this were true, how did this one named Lu safely teleport here? Master Ashen Pine had uncertainty in his heart, but he could only suppress it. He looked at Wang Lin and clasped his hands. It was me who was reckless on this matter. I hope, fellow cultivator Lu 1T mind. Wang Lin let out a cold snort. He then clasped his hands but didn't speak. At this moment, in a valley filled with dense fog inside this seven-colored world, Master Cloud Soul sat there with a pale face, nervously looking around. There were no more blood flowing out from his right arm, but there were fear hidden behind his expression. Damn it, I was transported here. His heart trembled as he licked his dry lips. He looked at the dense fog at the mouth of the valley. There were faint roars coming from the dense fog along with a fishy smell. Aimlessly wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1182 Seven-Colored Realm. The matter about Master Cloud Soul was put aside and was no longer mentioned. The old man named Pang complained in his heart and was on guard because he had just offended Wang Lin. Thinking about Wang Lin's cold gaze, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Master Ashen Pine said with a serious tone, "Don't spread out your divine sense too far, or else you will attract the fierce beasts here. Although this is only the outer region, there are rank 12 fog beasts here. Also, don't fly higher than 1,000 feet. Wang Lin looked at the seven-colored light in the sky and pondered. This seven-colored light was very strange and gave him a strange feeling. It seemed to contain an incomprehensible change in law. What the hell is this place? The person that asked was the battle beast sect Xianxia. Master Ashen Pine looked ahead and slowly said, "The seven-colored realm, this is what I call it. The outer region of this place is filled with fog beasts. This is where all my origin crystals come from. I have come here a few times, but I am unable to enter the center region. There are some remains of ancient people there. According to my observations, there are celestials and some very strange people." He pointed ahead as he slowly spoke. "Fellow cultivators, please follow me and don't leave. This place is very dangerous. If you are not careful, you might die here." With that, he walked down the altar and walked ahead. Everyone followed closely after Master Ashen Pine and slowly moved forward. Master Ashen Pine was serious the whole way and followed the fixed route off the altar into the plain. They eventually arrived within the fog-filled mountains. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked around. There were no trees here, only bare mountains. The different types of fog existed in their own separate groups and didn't interfere with each other. Just at this moment, Xianxia suddenly stopped and looked at a mountain not far away. A stone cave could vaguely be seen halfway up the mountain. This cave was obviously not natural. At a glance, it was obvious it was made by someone to be used as a cultivation cave. There is indeed a cave there, but there are rank 12 beasts guarding it. The last time I came, I lured them away and went inside. I did obtain some stuff, Master Ashen Pine quietly said as he looked at Xianxia. Then he continued to walk forward. Xianxia withdrew his gaze and looked at Master Ashen Pine in front. No one knew what he was thinking. As everyone moved forward, the path got narrower. Master Ashen Pine was very familiar with this place. When there was no road ahead, he would change directions and another road would appear. Time slowly passed. As everyone went deeper, they felt a sense of majesty. This feeling became stronger, and when it descended on them, it even made their minds tremble. Master Ashen Pine's expression became more serious and he slowed down. He would have to think for a long time after every step as if he was recalling the route. Wang Lin was silent the whole way, but his eyes shined brightly. He had already noticed that there were numerous restrictions here. However, most of them were too old and had mostly collapsed, but there were still some that were operational. What shocked Wang Lin was the power of these restrictions. These restrictions were even stronger than the ones in Celestial Emperor Qing Lin's cave. If it wasn't for the fact that they had collapsed, it would have been impossible to reach this point. Looking back at where they passed through, they had already traveled more than 5 kilometers. They hadn't crossed the mountain range ahead of them yet, and it was impossible to know what was beyond the mountains. In this 7-colored realm, there was no night. The 7-colored light filled the sky. Master Ashen Pine moved slower and slower before he finally stopped. He rubbed his temples and said, "Fellow cultivator Duanmu, the reincarnation pill is not far ahead. However, there is a rank 12 fierce beast there, so if you want it, there might be some trouble." There was a narrow road before Master Ashen Pine, and the side of the mountains looked grim. Sometimes a few stones would tumble down and make some noise. Aside from that, the surroundings were completely silent. There was a faint mist blocking the narrow road, and on the edge of the fog you could see a skeleton on the side. Almost all of its clothes had dissipated, only a few strands of cloth were still wrapped around the skeleton. The flesh on the skeleton had completely decayed, and the pelvic bone could clearly be seen. There was a 7-colored pill inside it. This pill wasn't complete and had subtle cracks. Some of it had even melted, so it was no longer shaped like a pill, but a crescent shape. This was a pill that was devoured by someone, but that person died before they could completely absorb the pill. Although countless years had passed, the pill still emitted a faint fragrance, only now it was very light. Smelling the fragrance, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. This fragrance was very strange. When it entered his nose, it made his origin soul tremble. His mind began recalling the past, and scenes of the past uncontrollably appeared before his eyes. Fortunately, Wang Lin was also vigilant. He bit the tip of his tongue, and his eyes suddenly cleared up. He was secretly startled. He looked at everyone else. That old man named Pang had already sealed his 5 senses. It was obvious he already knew that this place was strange. As for the old woman in green, she was confused for a moment but soon recovered. The battle beast secte Shen Tianjun quickly recovered. What a powerful pill! It indeed is the reincarnation pill. The boy named Duanmu took a deep breath and was indulging in the fragrance. Fellow cultivator Duanmu cultivates the reincarnation cycle of the sun and moon. What he needs to comprehend is his reincarnation. He must complete the reincarnation cycle 9 times to complete his Tao. However, the heavens are ruthless, so it is very difficult to succeed. Rumor has it that there was a reincarnation pill in the ancient cultivation world that allowed one to enter the reincarnation cycle, to comprehend Tao. However, the reincarnation pill is long lost, and only part of the recipe exists. It is impossible to refine a reincarnation pill. We can only condense some reincarnation energy, Master Ashen Pine slowly explained. The boy named Duanmu's eyes lit up, and he stared at Master Ashen Pine. He said with a sharp voice, "Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine sure knows a lot. I presume you made adequate preparations when you came to find me." Master Ashen Pine smiled but didn't speak. "If it wasn't for what in the fog next to the skeleton, you wouldn't have been so as to kind to invite me." The boy named Duanmu looked at the fog. "That is indeed true. Fellow cultivator Duanmu's reincarnation Tao will be very useful to us for the rest of the trip. We will help you obtain this pill and you will open the road the rest of the way." Master Ashen Pine was calm as he frankly admitted it. "Okay." The boy pondered for a bit as he looked at the reincarnation pill in the skeleton, then his expression became serious. Master Ashen Pine said with a serious voice, "This is a rank 12 dragon, which is equal to a peak nirvana shatterer cultivator. But a fierce beast is still a fierce beast. As long as we cooperate well, and along with fellow cultivator Duanmu's reincarnation spell, it's not impossible." Shen Tianjun licked his lips. "I want this dragon's soul." The old woman in green said, "The body of this dragon belongs to me." Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slowly said, "I want all the origin crystals in the fog." After the 3 of them finished speaking, their gazes fell on Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine laughed. "That's fine. Fellow cultivator Pang and I don't want these things. We just want to pass here." A cold light flashed in the eyes in the boy and he took a deep breath. His hands formed a seal before him, and his hair moved without any wind. His eyes lit up, and the sun and moon appeared in one each respectively. Then he let out a roar as his left hand pointed to between his eyebrows and his right hand pointed ahead. His eyes shined brightly, and the sun and moon marks in his eyes became even more clear. Everyone around him suddenly felt like their minds were being sucked into an illusion. Wang Lin looked at the boy and was completely calm. The moment the sun and moon marks appeared, they began to rotate around each other to form a vortex. It charged directly at the fog. It was too fast and instantly closed on the fog. Popping sounds echoed as it charged into the fog. At this moment, the fog began to churn violently, and a roar came out. This roar was earth-shattering, and the mountains on the sides began to tremble and rocks fell off. At the same time, a large dragon head charged out it. A fishy-smelling wind swept by as it charged toward everyone. If this was it, it would be fine, but the moment the dragon's head appeared, the pressure of a peak nirvana shatter cultivator also appeared. This caused everyone's minds to tremble for an instant. The boy named Duanmu let out a roar, and a sun and moon suddenly appeared before the head of the dragon that was charging at everyone. The sun and moon rotated like crazy, and the vortex they formed was pulling the dragon's head. My reincarnation spell can only affect it for 10 breaths of time. You all have to hurry. The boy's expression was ferocious, and the veins on his forehead were swelling. He sat down, waved his right hand, and the 7-foot flying sword appeared. It turned into a ray of sword energy and shot directly at the dragon. Chen Tianjun took a step forward as his hands formed a seal and a ghostly light shined around him. He immediately arrived next to the dragon, and in a flash he arrived on top of the dragon's head. He sat down and formed another seal. The ghostly light around him intensified, and he unexpectedly entered the dragon's body. Master Ashen Pine waved his hand, and tens of thousands of swords appeared. They all fell like a rain of swords on the dragon. The old woman in green's right hand formed a seal, and a cold wind blew by. There were crackling sounds as ice appeared in the narrow path and spread toward the dragon. The old man named Pang wasn't idle. He jumped into the air and waved his hand, causing lightning to appear. Balls of lightning descended from the sky. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he immediately got near the dragon. His right hand formed a fist, and his punch landed on the dragon's giant body. A thunderous rumble echoed. It was the dragon roaring in anger as it tried to break through the body's reincarnation seal. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1183, Don T Move. Just at this moment, the boy's flying sword arrived with a shaking sword energy. It broke through the dragon's flesh and pierced through. Immediately after, the old man's lightning descended, making the dragon roar even more intensely. The more it struggled, the more pale the face of the boy became, and his body began trembling. The boy shouted, 5 more breaths of time. Master Ashen Pine's hand quickly formed different seals as the tens of thousands of swords closed in and landed on the dragon. The dragon let out a roar and struggled, causing the boy to cough out blood. The veins on his body were all swelling, and his eyes were bloodshot. The old woman in green's eyes closed in and touched the dragon. The dragon trembled, and frost immediately appeared. Soon, ice covered the entire dragon. Strands of black gas started to come out of the dragon and got absorbed by the ice. This scene caused everyone to look at the old woman. Wang Lin naturally saw what was strange about the ice. It was able to absorb the dragon's vitality. The dragon suddenly raised its head and let out a roar. The boy coughed out blood and could no longer seal it. Without the reincarnation seal, the dragon roared. There was a single horn on its head, and as it moved, its body came out of the fog. As it came out, the amount of fog decreased. After the seal disappeared, the dragon moved, and all the ice around it immediately collapsed. When the ice flew back next to the old woman in green, strands of black gas entered her body, and her eyes became even brighter. These old monsters are still hiding their spells. It is interesting, Wang Lin sneered as he flew above the head of the dragon that was rising. He charged toward the thinning fog. Once the dragon turned solid from its fog form, all the origin crystals would dissipate and become part of its body's origin energy. I'll only do as much work as I am paid to do. There is no need for me to try so desperately just for these origin crystals. Wang Lin ignored the fight and charged into the fog. The moment he entered, he saw large amounts of origin crystals floating there, and some were still forming. He waved his arms and took hundreds of origin crystals. This method of collecting origin crystals made Wang Lin very happy. He moved through the fog like lightning and gathered the origin crystals that had formed over countless years. Wang Lin could still hear the roar of the dragon and the rumbles of the battle outside. Wang Lin quickly gathered thousands of origin crystal. In truth, it was not possible for rank 12 fog beasts to generate this many origin crystals. After all, the cultivators that were raising these fog beasts would come to collect them every now and then. However, in this seven-colored realm, no one would come to steal the origin crystals from the fog beast. After countless years, this many origin crystals had gathered. It didn't take long for Wang Lin to notice the fog around him begin to churn more violently and show signs of condensing. It was also moving toward one direction as it contracted. After calculating the amount of origin crystals, Wang Lin decisively gave up gathering more and moved to the side. As he moved, the fog began to condense even faster. In a moment, all the fog disappeared and was replaced with the dragon's tail. The dragon was about 10,000 feet tall, and half of its body was in the air. This section of tail flew up with the body. "Make yours." The old man named Pang had a pale face as he leaned against the side of the mountain, and his chest was a bloody mess. Master Ashen Pine, the old woman in green, and the boy were fighting above the dragon's head. They were all using spells to prevent the dragon from rising. The black horn on the dragon's head released a black light, and every time it flashed, Master Ashen Pine and company had to dodge. The dragon spat out a fishy-smelling poison fog that was very difficult to deal with. However, it was also seriously injured as blood flowed out from the wounds on its body and dripped down its scales. Just at this moment, the dragon let out a heaven-shaking roar that made the surrounding mountains tremble and some rocks to fall down. Shortly after, the black horn on the dragon gave off a blinding light and a black lightning net spread out. At the same time, endless origin energy gathered and even some of the seven-colored light was absorbed. Roar! The dragon let out a roar that caused everyone's minds to tremble. As the dragon roared, the black lightning net increased in size by 1,000 feet. As the origin energy and seven-colored light was absorbed, illusions began to appear around the dragon. This illusionary shadows were all dragons. As they circled the area, Master Ashen Pine and company were forced to retreat. The dragon was about to rise into the air. Once it flew up into the air, it would be a disaster for the cultivators that couldn't fly too high into the air. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the dragon's tail. He took a step forward, and popping sounds came from his arms. The power of an ancient god surged through his arms as he jumped up and grabbed the dragon's tail. The veins on Wang Lin's arms swelled. "Come down for me." Wang Lin's hands mercilessly held the dragon's tail and mercilessly pulled it down. This scene shocked all those who were dodging the dragon's spells. The eyes of the old man named Pang leaning on the side of the road widened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. All of Wang Lin's ancient god power surged in his body as the dragon struggled. The dragon turned its head and charged at Wang Lin. Spells circled the dragon's body. However, its struggle just made Wang Lin's ancient god power surge even faster. "Come down!" He let out a heaven-shaking roar that was like the voice of the god. Wang Lin's hand held the tail and mercilessly smashed the dragon's body down on the narrow path, while all the other cultivators watched in shock. Although this dragon had a 10,000-foot-long body, had peak Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, had a body that was strong enough to resist most spells, and a body that was far stronger than that of any body-refining cultivator, it was nothing before Wang Lin. Even if it shed its skin and became a true dragon, it still wouldn't be able to rise into the sky before an ancient god. As Wang Lin swung down, the dragon wasn't able to struggle at all, and it let out a roar. Its body immediately came crashing down. The old man named Pang felt the sky darken. His mind was shocked, and he quickly retreated like crazy. He was worried that if he was too slow and the dragon smashed onto his body would immediately collapse given his cultivation level. "Start creating now." A thunderous rumble echoed across the sky when the giant dragon smashed into the ground. Large amounts of rocks fell off the mountains on both sides, and it took a while for everything to return to normal. After the dragon fell on the ground, its body twitched, its head began to melt, and black gas came out. Chen Tianjun flew out from the head and took a few steps back. Master Ashen Pine sucked in a breath of cold air. He stared at the dragon and then at Wang Lin, and a chill appeared in his heart. Even the boy licked his lips. There was a hint of dread in his gaze toward Wang Lin. The old woman in green also gasped and silently pondered. The one with the most fear in his heart was the old man named Pang, who had managed to avoid the dragon. When he thought about Wang Lin's threat, he felt bitterness in his mouth. Wang Lin's breathing was a bit rough, and he looked at everyone before his gaze landed on the skeleton not far away. He walked over and looked down to find a jade under the skeleton. His right hand reached at the void, and then the jade and pill landed in his hand. He threw the pill at the boy. The boy caught it and clasped his hands at Wang Lin. "Many thanks." Holding the jade, Wang Lin sat down against the mountain. His divine sense swept inside jade and he began to carefully read the contents. Master Ashen Pine arrived next to the old man named Pang. His right hand patted the old man's back, and he handed over some pills before sitting down. He would occasionally look at Wang Lin with a mysterious light in his eyes. The boy held the reincarnation pill and revealed a look of excitement before putting it away. This was not the time to consume it. He took a deep breath and sat down to heal. Chen Tianjun also sat down. During this battle, everyone was outside, but he was inside and was indispensable. If there was no one outside, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the dragoness soul. Although he wasn't able to absorb it all, he had the best harvest out of everyone present. As for the old woman in green, she arrived next to the dragoness corpse. She placed her hand on the dragon and black gas came out from the dragoness body and entered hers. After resting for a few hours, Master Ashen Pine looked at everyone and slowly said, "There are many rank 12 fog beasts here. However, the greater the danger, the bigger our harvest." At this moment, only bones remained of the dragon corpse next to the old woman. The old woman's face turned red, and she unexpectedly became a bit younger. The old man named Pang had recovered a lot. He stood up and looked at the narrow path without any fog. His eyes lit up. Master Ashen Pine got up and walked forward. "Everyone let us go." The old woman in green and Chen Tianjun got up at the same time. Only the boy hesitated for a bit before also standing up. Wang Lin was sitting the farthest away from everyone and watched them walk over as he held the jade. There was something recorded in this jade, something related to the seven-colored realm. This place is Wang Lin's train of thought was broken as he suddenly looked behind everyone. His pupils shrank and all the hair on his body stood up. At the same time, Master Ashen Pine and the boy suddenly stopped. Immediately after, the old woman and Chen Tianjun also noticed. The old man named Pang was the last person to notice. Master Ashen Pine's eyes became filled with fear as he quickly sent out a divine sense message. "No matter what, Dawn to move." Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, hoping to double the likes on the VIDEO. In the meantime, everyone, throw your spare ones here. Chapter 1184. Await the path of cultivation. The old man named Pang gasped, and he was filled with fear. When he felt the chill, he didn't even dare to spread out his divine sense, but he was very familiar with this chill. He could still not forget that it was because they encountered this thing that half the cultivators that came with them the second time disappeared. Before this mysterious presence, they were like mortals, and couldn't resist at all. Aside from Wang Lin, due to his location, allowing him to clearly see the situation, no one else could see. Remember not to spread out your divine sense. Master Ashen Pine sent out the last divine sense message and no longer sent anymore. His body was motionless, and even his eyes were closed. In Wang Lin's eyes, a person appeared behind everyone. This person was wearing gray, but the lower half of his body under the clothes was transparent, allowing you to see the flesh and blood. He had no hair, and his eyes were lifeless as he slowly walked over. He wasn't very fast, and it took a long time for him to arrive next to the dragoness corpse. He didn't seem to do anything, but the dragon immediately rotted into a pool of blood. What was strange was that this pool of blood entered this person's body. The person in gray still had lifeless eyes as he slowly walked forward. The boy named Duanmu was last among them, and he was motionless, but he frowned. He clearly felt the chill get closer and closer before he saw the person in gray pass by. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes. However, just at this moment, the person in gray stopped and turned his head toward Duanmu. Their gazes met, and the boy's mind trembled. His mind went blank and confusion appeared in his eyes. The sun and moon appeared above his head and began to rotate. They turned into a vortex that was like the reincarnation cycle of the sun and moon. This sun and moon reincarnation cycle was the essence of Duanmu. There were a lot of runes that represented his spells. However, at this moment, what made Wang Lin's mind tremble was that the sun and moon reincarnation cycle strangely moved toward the man in gray. It gradually separated from the boy and merged with the man in gray. The confusion in the boy's eyes disappeared and was replaced with death. There wasn't a trace of vitality left in him. Then the man in gray turned around and walked forward. The boy named Duanmu lifted his feet and slowly followed the man in gray, walking at the same pace as him. This strange scene shocked everyone. The old woman in green didn't even blink and remained motionless. Before her, Chen Qianjun was the same. There weren't any fluctuations to his emotions at all. The man in gray silently walked past everyone, and the boy followed. His hair gradually fell off onto the ground. The body under the clothes gradually turned transparent. It didn't take long for the man in gray to arrive before Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained motionless and was completely focused. The man in gray didn't pause and walked past Wang Lin, with the boy following behind. The two of them gradually disappeared into the distance. The surrounding chill slowly dissipated until it was completely gone. Master Ashen Pine's body trembled, and he let out a deep breath. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead, and he wiped it away. The three people behind him also relaxed, and shock filled their eyes. Chen Tianhu's mind trembled as he whispered, Who is he? There was still fear in Master Ashen Pine's eyes as he answered in a hoarse voice, The Lost One. Master Ashen Pine, what the hell is this place? The old woman in green had an ugly expression as she stared at Master Ashen Pine. She was right beside the boy, so she experienced what had happened very clearly. Fellow cultivator Duanmu didn't listen to the advice. Alas. The old man named Pang still had lingering fear in his eyes and shook his head. I don't know what this place is. I call this place the Seven-Colored Realm. That gray-robed man is called the Lost One. That I am sure of. In the seven-colored world, there aren't many lost ones. If they appear, as long as you don't spread out your divine sense and don't move, there is no danger. If you move, then you will end up like fellow cultivator Duanmu. Master Ashen Pine spade in a serious tone. Wang Lin stood up. He looked at Master Ashen Pine and calmly said, There originally weren't many lost ones here, but after you came, the number increased. The old woman in green sneered but didn't speak. Chen Tianjun's expression was gloomy as he stared at Master Ashen Pine, and slowly said, Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine, you have already come here twice. Did you leave a few people to become new lost ones each time? Master Ashen Pine's expression was bleak, and he was silent for a long time. Then he nodded and bitterly said, That gray-robed man just now was a friend that came with me the first time. He was taken away by a lost one. Chen Tianjun let out a cold snort and said, Coming here was a mistake. I quit. As he spoke, they turned around and went back where they came. He disappeared without a trace. Master Ashen Pine didn't stop. After Chen Tianjun left, he slowly said, Without me leading the way, he won't be able to go back. I didn't think we would encounter a lost one so soon. Fellow cultivator Lu and Zhao, I know of a cultivation cave between the inner and outer regions of this seven-colored realm. You all know the owner of that cave. It was the head disciple of the heaven-breaking sect from 18,000 years ago, Sima Mo. The old woman in green's expression remained the same, as if she hadn't heard him. Wang Lin silently pondered. He looked at Master Ashen Pine, waiting for the rest. Ignoring how powerful Sima Mo was, he was also good at alchemy. He took the pill recipe that caused the calamity and left. Although I don't know how that pill recipe appeared in the rank region, I am certain that Sima Mo's cave indeed exists. As for whether he successfully refined that pill, I don't know, but even without it, there must be a lot of treasures there. When he finished speaking, he took out a jade and threw it at Wang Lin. Wang Lin caught it and checked it with his divine sense before passing it to the old woman in green. I found this jade here before, and that's why I'm so sure, Master Ashen Pine said calmly. However, after seeing that their expression still hadn't changed, and they hadn't agreed to continue exploring, he frowned. Fellow cultivator Zhao, from now on, I and fellow cultivator Pang will give you all our shares of the fierce beasts we kill. Also, I promise you get to pick 10 things first from that place I told you about before. The old woman in green hesitated and asked, How confident are you in entering that place? Master Ashen Pine pondered a bit and said, If you and fellow cultivator Lu help, I am 60% confident. Okay. The old woman in green closed her eyes for a moment and then nodded. Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin and said, The place I and fellow cultivator Zhao were talking about is an inner part of the seven-colored world. Although it is dangerous, the harvest will be greater. According to the clues I found, there are many souls of rank 8 to 13 beasts sealed here. I have prepared enough herbs so that as long as there is enough time, I can produce a large amount of pills. If fellow cultivator Lu agrees, you can pick 10 first as well. Wang Lin silently pondered. In his mind, there was no way Master Ashenpine's goal was so simple, and given his cunning, there was no way he would expose his purpose. Master Ashen said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, I can take you to a few safe places with fog beasts and gather all the origin crystals there. Also, I want to take a single thing from Sima Mo's cave. Let us take the origin crystals first." Wang Lin looked at Master Ashenpine. Okay. Master Ashen didn't say any more and looked around. He didn't continue down the narrow passage but charged directions. The three of them charged off into the distance. Master Ashenpine was very familiar with his place. After 1 hour he arrived at another place filled with fog. This was an abyss shrouded in fog. After entering this place, Master Ashenpine was very careful and slowly moved forward. When he was 1,000 feet from the fog, he stopped. His right hand reached out and a large amount of celestial jades flew out and circled him. Then he closed his hand, and all the celestial jades turned to dust. He took a deep breath and carefully waved that dust toward the fog. Just at this moment, a roar came from the fog and a turtle-like beast peeked out its head. It sucked in the celestial jade dust. Master Ashenpine took out more celestial jades, which he crushed into dust, and softly said, "Fellow cultivator Pang." The old man named Pang had cooperated with Master Ashenpine many times, and he skillfully rushed into the fog. The turtle fog beast looked back and hesitated, but at this moment more celestial jade dust flew over. The beast immediately devoured it. When Wang Lin saw this, his eyes shined, but he remained calm. Shortly after, the old man named Pang rushed back out from the fog and returned to everyone's side. Master Ashenpine scattered more celestial jade dust and slowly retreated. It wasn't until he retreated out more than 10,000 feet that he stopped scattering celestial jade dust. "How many?" Master Ashenpine looked at the old man named Pang. "Less than 3,000. The old man named Pang didn't hesitate to hand a bag of holding to Wang Lin. "Some rank 12 fog beasts like to devour celestial jades. You can use celestial jades to get some origin crystals." After Master Ashenpine spoke, he led everyone to a number of fog beasts. Using the same method, they confused more fierce beasts and got nearly 20,000 origin crystals in return. Master Ashenpine stopped and returned to that narrow road. On the way back, I'll get more origin crystals for fellow cultivator Lu on a different path. Based on the past, there should be about 60,000 minus 70,000 origin crystals in total. Enlightened, prisoner of the Tao of Heaven, all sentient beings must endure immeasurable calamities. It only takes a thought to leave the deep prison. Await the path of cultivation. The information from the jade next to the skeleton echoed in Wang Lin's mind. He looked at the seven-colored world and silently nodded. Wishing for the like button for the video. Thinking nonsense. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 118, Foreign Battleground. The giant revealed a look of greed and laughed. Good, a crate for this is going to be mine. Today's harvest is pretty good. First, I got to see the hostility aura, and then I saw the bead. Lin Yi, if you dare to fight with me, I'll kill you. With that, the giant came out of the cloud. His body was more than 100 feet tall. It gave off an aura that suppressed people. Cracking sounds came from his body as he shrank to the size of a normal person. There was a mark of a hammer on his forehead. Lin Yi shouted, "Tish! What do you mean?" The giant stared at Lin Yi and walked into the circle. After entering, he waved his hand and the circle turned back into 2 dragons. The portal disappeared without a trace. The sky immediately lit up again and the clouds disappeared. Lin Yi's expression was very ugly as he coldly looked at the still dumbfounded Tang Huayuan. He let out a cold laugh and then disappeared into the horizon. Every cultivator outside the Juming Valley remembered the youth that dared to fight with a nascent soul cultivator. The Foundation Establishment cultivator named Wang Lin was carved into everyone's hearts. Zhao's right to enter the foreign battleground was ruthlessly taken away. It didn't matter if there were any remaining tokens because the Lord Messenger that came to open the tunnel had already left to chase something. Why would he still remember something as small as this? Lin Yi was filled with anger as he watched the item the cultivation union was looking for taken being away before his eyes. This feeling made him want to cough up blood, especially when he thought about how the bead had always been in Zhao and how he was the overseer of Zhao. If this got out, it would be too embarrassing. Tang Huayuan's face was sullen because he didn't know if Wang Lin had died or not. He believed Wang Lin to be dead, but he couldn't get rid of this feeling of terror in his heart. The people outside the Juming Valley gradually left, and the story of Wang Lin spread with them. Eventually, every cultivator in Zhao knew of Wang Lin. Punanzi took the disciples back to the Xuan Dao sect. There was a female disciple behind him. That was Liu Mei. She watched everything and felt bitterness in her heart. She didn't know why, but she had a sliver of affection for Wang Lin. This sliver of affection not only didn't disappear with time, but would resurface in her heart in the dead of night. Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao also came to know about what had happened outside of the Yuming Valley. The hatred they had toward Wang Lin for the destruction he brought gradually disappeared. The two of them knew that they didn't have the guts to fight against nascent soul cultivators. But this didn't mean that the two of them had given up on revenge. Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao were set on killing Tang Huayuan. It was their lifelong goal. After Punanzi came back, he learned of the Wang family's tragedy. Under Liu Mei's plea, he accepted Wang Hao as a disciple. Liu Mei knew that this was the only thing she could do to help Wang Lin, even if he will never know about it. Tang Huayuan returned to Tang family city with that feeling of terror and went into closed-door cultivation. He swore that he wouldn't come out until he has reached the late stage of nascent soul. The entire country of Zhao seemed to suddenly quiet down. The foreign battleground was filled with rifts in space and steel wind. At this very moment, there were thousands of people from dozens of ranked cultivation countries here to clean up the battleground. The highest level cultivator here was at the late stage of foundation establishment. With this cultivation level, they could barely take a step without being in danger, so how could they complete the task of cleaning up the battleground? In fact, when they entered the foreign battleground, the Lord Messenger that opened up the tunnel gave each of them a piece of jade. This jade protected them from the steel wind and will teleport them back to their own country after 50 years. But against the mysterious spatial rifts that could appear anywhere, these jades were powerless. The foreign battleground is still very dangerous for these foundation establishment cultivators, but if they are careful and lucky, they can still make it out alive. Generally speaking, the survival rate of the foreign battleground is 30%. Although it is not high, considering all of the materials and magic treasures they can find while cleaning up, it is not so bad. After all, cultivation is a heaven-defying thing, so the higher the risk, the better the reward. And anyone who returns safely from the foreign battleground will have a higher status within the sect. Their cultivation level will also be higher as cultivating in the foreign battleground is far faster than back at their sects. After all, the foreign battleground has very dense spiritual energy. That and years of constant danger forces their cultivation level to rise rapidly. Basically, every time the cleaning is completed, there will be people who have successfully formed their core. This is why so many foundation establishment cultivators risk their lives to come here. At this moment, in the foreign battleground, at the northeast angle, there was a youth in white digging at a body with a knife. If one looked closely, this person was cutting at the gap of the body armor on the body. He clearly wanted to get the body armor. The body armor was already heavily damaged and covered in burn marks. The chest portion of the armor had been completely shattered, revealing a fist-sized wound. In addition to that, on the body of the giant, there was a very faint image of a hammer. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't see it at all. This youth's name was Mai Liang. He was a cultivator of the war god temple in the country of Hofen. He had already been at the foreign battleground for more than 30 years, so he was very experienced. There needs to be a little explanation here. In the foreign battleground, one doesn't age, but when they leave, they will rapidly age the years that they have been inside. As he was digging, his expression suddenly changed, and he immediately laid down. Just then, a ray of black light shot by and past him. The youth was stunned. He thought that he had seen a bead in the ray of black light, so he gave up on the armor and chased after the light. He had been here for 30 years, but aside from his peers, He hadn't seen another live person. However, he had seen several magic treasures that could fly on their own. Although no one had managed to get their hands on one, Mai Liang had heard about them. These magic treasures with their own consciousness were very powerful. Mai Liang used his fastest speed to chase after the bead. The more he chased, the more excited he got, especially because this area was kind of desolate. In the past year he had been here, he hadn't met another peer. Thinking about that, his heart started beating even faster, and he secretly thought, my luck has finally arrived. If I could get that treasure and return to the sect, then Junior Apprentice Sister would admire me. Then I'll give this treasure to the sect head, and have him make Junior Apprentice Sister form a cultivation pair with me. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Mai Liang used every ounce of his strength to chase after the bead with that fantasy in his mind. But that bead was simply too far. Mai Liang hadn't chased very far before the gap grew. Mai Liang clenched his teeth and pulled out an item from his bag of holding. This item was a shuttle. It was red and released slivers of heat. This was the biggest harvest he had while cleaning the foreign battleground. He normally wouldn't dare to take it out because he was afraid it would be stolen. However, right now, the treasure was about to get away. He couldn't be bothered with keeping it a secret, so he took out the shuttle and threw it forward. The shuttle instantly grew to several times its normal size and with a hum, charged forward at a very quick speed. Mai Liang was clinging onto the shuttle from the moment it grew. He could only feel the wind hitting his body like punches. It was a long time before he could finally open his eyes and see that he had already closed quite a bit of the distance between him and the bead. Filled with excitement, Mai Liang clinged onto the shuttle and chased after the bead. Time quickly passed. Although Mai Liang wasn't getting left behind by the bead anymore, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't overtake or catch up to the bead. He could only maintain the current distance between him and the bead. It wasn't until 3 days later that Mai Liang noticed that he had entered a foreign part of the foreign battleground. He became nervous. It has to be said that besides the steel wind and spatial rifts, the most dangerous things in the foreign battleground were foreign places. A foreign place had many dangers. A large amount of spatial rifts could suddenly appear and devour everything. Mai Liang had heard from the elder that the foreign battleground was simply too large, and they were only cleaning a small portion of it. And just in that small portion there were places that contained a lot of spatial rifts. As he was hesitating, he suddenly noticed that rows of very dense white stripes appeared before him. Looking at the stripes, Mai Liang's expression changed as he forced the shuttle to stop and quickly back up. He was too familiar with these white stripes. When spatial rifts appear, they first appear as these white strips. Soon, the white stripes will fuse into a large spatial rift that will devour everything. Mai Liang's face was pale as he looked around. After realizing that there were only spatial rifts in front of him, he relaxed a bit. He wryly smiled and said, "Forget it. It's not worth dying for a treasure that I don't even know the effect of. I haven't be able to do pair cultivation with Junior Apprentice Sister yet. I don't want to die needlessly here." Just at that moment, a small white stripe appeared before the ray of black light. Without any hesitation, the ray of black light went into the spatial rift. Mai Liang sighed and cursed. "Spatial rift, you swallowed yet another treasure. In the 30 years I've been here, you have swallowed so many. If not 10,000, it has been 8,000. Why can't you leave one for me?" He had just finished cursing when he felt a chill as someone patted his shoulder. He was instantly covered in cold sweat as he slowly turned around to see a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression was very ugly as he asked Mai Liang, "Little guy, did you see that black light?" The Mai Liang was able to instantly see the hammer pattern on the middle-aged man's forehead. He took a deep breath because he had seen this pattern many times during his 30 years here. He had seen one just a few days ago. He heard from some of the elders that this pattern was the symbol of the giant demon clan from a rank cultivation country. The members of the giant demon clan were born with spiritual energy, so they had the best bodies for cultivation. They were also the only rank 5 cultivation country that contained only one sect in the entire country. The people of the giant demon clan could only freely change their bodies once they reached the soul transformation stage. Since this person looked like a normal person, he must be a soul transformation expert from the giant demon sect. Mai Liang's throat was dry. He was too scared to lie, so he quickly said, "Senior, I saw that ray of black light. It went over there and was swallowed by a spatial rift." The middle-aged man was the one who had chased after Wang Lin from Zhao. He chased it the entire way as quickly as possible, but the more he chased, the more shocked he became. That bead's speed was the same as his. It was even able to dodge all of his interceptions. Not only that, but the bead's speed gradually became even faster until it was able to lose him. In addition to all of that, there were still the spatial rifts. Even though he wasn't too afraid of spatial rifts, it would be very annoying if he were to get caught in one. With his early-stage soul transformation cultivation, he could only prevent himself from being sucked in. He could not move around as he wished. With the obstruction of the spatial rifts, his speed became even slower. Even with teleportation, he could only prevent himself from getting left behind. On the way, he found Mai Liang. He was shocked to find that Mai Liang was able to travel faster than him thanks to that shuttle. After hearing Mai Liang's story, his face was sullen and he was very angry. Although the foreign battleground was very large, it still had borders, but there were no borders inside the spatial rifts. Even if he were to go back home to get a late-stage soul transformation cultivator to help him, it would still be like searching the ocean for a needle. There wasn't much hope. Thinking about that, he looked at Mai Liang. He reached out, took the shuttle from Mai Liang and shouted, "This thing is now mine." With that, he moved and flew back toward where he came from without even looking at Mai Liang. After that person left, Mai Liang wiped the sweat from his forehead, let out a breath, and quickly left the area. Mai Liang didn't know that that person was extremely famous in his rank cultivation country. However, he was famous because he always had to take something, or it would be a waste otherwise, like the time when he took Lin Yi's light tower. Wishing for the like button for the video, hoping to charge through the trending charts for the video this month. Chapter 1185 9-Step Heaven Ceiling Formation. There was only one line on this jade. Wang Lin pondered for a long time but still didn't fully understand the meaning of it. Just based on the words, there were many interpretations. His gaze swept past Master Ashen Pine. Wang Lin knew that Master Ashen Pine had been here several times and had explored a lot of caves here. Master Ashen Pine must have obtained some rare treasures, cultivation methods, or information here. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so familiar with this place. They continued down the narrow mountain path with Master Ashen Pine carefully walking in front. He only had a simple map of the area past this point, and hadn't actually gone down this path before. Previously, he took another path, and it was there that he obtained a jade and map containing the information that tempted him. They went down the narrow road for several days. After avoiding various fog beasts, they arrived deep within the mountain range. There was one more mountain before them, and after passing here, they would see what was behind the mountain. The old woman in green was calm and didn't look to the side as if she was a monk. Wang Lin had looked at her several times, but he wasn't able to see through her thoughts. Wang Lin only knew that this old woman in green was named Zhao and nothing else. However, he noticed along the way that although she was following Master Ashen Pine, each of her steps was intricate. There were many restrictions here, but most of them had already collapsed. However, this old woman always stepped on an empty spot or where the restrictions were weak. This was a habit, and it wouldn't change just because the restriction had lost power. It was hard to notice something so subtle unless you were a restriction, Grandmaster. The old man named Pang followed closely after Master Ashen Pine and didn't dare to be too close to Wang Lin. He obviously dreaded Wang Lin a lot. At this moment, there was no road left before them. Master Ashen Pine's brows were knit tightly and he pondered. The seven-colored light still covered the sky, making it impossible to tell if it was night or day. Fluctuations of origin energy came from the sky, catching everyone's attention. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked into the distance. He could see that there was fog churning in the sky a few mountains back. The origin energy fluctuations were coming from there. There was also a feeling of a power that could shake the soul. Master Ashen Pine looked at the distance and coldly said, "It's Shen Tianjun's spell." After a long time, the fluctuations dissipated and the fog calmed down. It was as if nothing had happened, and no more fluctuations came. "I fear it is likely that Chen Tianjun is dead. He didn't listen to our advice and deserved to die. This seven-colored realm is not a place you can casually move in, and the road changes every time. Unless you know this place well, you can casually enter or leave." The old man named Pang sneered and there was mockery in his eyes. "Well, let us put the matter about Chen Tianjun aside. Fellow cultivator Zhao, I checked and there seems to be restrictions in the way. As for how to crack them, I need fellow cultivator Zhao to help. Master Ashen Pine took a few steps back and clasped his hands at the old woman in green. The old woman in green had already checked the path ahead, and right now she silently nodded. Unfortunately, fellow cultivator Duanmu was taken by the Lost One. If he was still here, he could use his Dao to temporarily stop the restrictions from changing and help fellow cultivator Zhao. Master Ashen Pine shook his head. Most of the restrictions here are ones I've never seen before. I don't have much confidence in breaking them. The old woman in green walked forward as she spoke and arrived at the end of the path. There was no path here, only mountains. If you wanted to pass, you'd have to climb up the mountain, but there was dense fog up the mountain that sealed all path. Touching the mountain rock, the eyes of the old woman in green lit up and she pondered. Wang Lin wasn't fazed and withdrew his gaze from the stone. He sat down and began to cultivate. He was going to keep himself at his peak so he would be ready for anything unexpected that might happen. Time slowly passed. The old woman in green didn't move, but the changes in her eyes became even more drastic. She eventually frowned. Master Ashen Pine, are you sure there is a restriction here? Why not just climb over? The old woman in green looked at Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine pondered for a moment before saying, there isn't just one fierce beast on top of this mountain. According to what I know, there are 7. They are all rank 12 fierce beasts. We came here from another path before and tried to climb the mountain, but we suffered heavy casualties. In the end, we weren't able to pass. Then I found a map that showed that there was a passage through the mountain, and the entrance is here. The old woman in green pondered a bit before retreating 2 steps. Her hands formed a seal. Afterimages of her hands appeared, and they overlapped to form a complex rune. The rune suddenly landed on the mountainous rock. Wang Lin's mind trembled, and he pretended to look over casually. The moment the restriction fell on the mountain, the surface of the rock seemed to melt and ripples appeared like when one threw a pebble into a lake. However, what was strange was that the ripples were strings of small incantations. An ancient and decaying aura came out from the mountain stone. The old woman in green retreated a few more steps, then her hands formed more seals and pointed a few times at her chest. 7 strands of gas flew out from her orifices, each strand containing a large amount of vitality, and they surrounded her. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The old woman unexpectedly sank into the mountain rock with 3 steps. The ripples became even more intense, and the rock became transparent. This allowed Master Ashen Pine and others to clearly see the massive stone tunnel inside. However, aside from the entrance, it was completely dark inside. Even their gazes were devoured by the darkness. When the old woman in green sank into the stone, her face turned pale, and her body began to distort as if she was being squeezed by an unimaginable force. A faint popping sound came from her body. She closed her eyes and cultivated for a moment. Then she opened her eyes and walked forward. Each step made her body tremble more violently, and the amount of ripples around the rock multiplied. The ancient aura became a powerful pressure that surrounded the area. After walking 3 steps, her eyes were bloodshot. Her hands formed a seal and mercilessly pressed down between her eyebrows. The old woman's wrinkly face went through a shocking change. Most of the wrinkles quickly dissipated. Even her body suddenly seemed to rejuvenate, and she turned into a middle-aged woman around 40. Although her appearance wasn't stunning, she had the grace of a beautiful, mature woman. She took 2 more steps, and just as she was about to take the 6th step, she coughed out a mouthful of blood. She could no longer bear it and retreated from the mountain rock. She only stopped retreating when she was next to Wang Lin. Her face immediately changed back to her old self. The old woman bitterly said, 9-step heaven sealing formation. This is an ancient formation. I have seen it in records but never in real life. For someone to place this restriction, their restriction ability is already at the peak. 9-step heaven sealing formation. Wang Lin looked at the mountain rock. After the old woman retreated, it returned to normal, and it was impossible to find anything wrong with it. This formation was damaged due to the passage of time, so it has no offensive capabilities, but its sealing power is unaffected. With my cultivation, I can only take 5 steps. Any more and my body can handle it. Master Ashen Pine frowned as he looked at the formation and asked, how do we break this formation? The old woman in green took out some pills and ate them. She began cultivating and said, Take the 10th step and you can break it. Master Ashen Pine pondered. After a long time, he clenched his teeth and waved his hand. A set of black devil armor appeared around him. Devilish energy filled the area and made Master Ashen Pine look like a devil god. I want to see how many steps I can take with my cultivation and this armor. Fellow cultivator Zhao, open it for me. Master Ashen Pine had no other choice. He had already come this far, and he wasn't willing to give up. He took 2 steps and charged at the mountain rock. The old woman in green formed a seal and pointed forward. A restriction flew out and landed on the mountain rock before Master Ashen Pine. Ripples appeared again, and the rock became transparent once more. Master Ashen Pine didn't hesitate and directly stepped into the rock. His mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator erupted, and the moment he entered the rock, he took 4 steps. Every step seemed to give off a thunderous boom. Master Ashen Pine's face turned pale and the armor gave off dense devilish energy. After 4 steps, he paused for a bit before his eyes lit up and he unexpectedly took 3 more steps. After he took these 3 steps, Master Ashen Pine's face was pale and his body was faintly trembling. However, he clenched his teeth and let out a roar as he took another step. This was the 8th step. The moment the 5th step landed, popping sounds came from Master Ashen Pine's body and blood came out of the corner of his mouth. His eyes were bloodshot. 1,000 years of preparation, and he was stopped by a formation. He was unwilling to yield. Roar! Master Ashen Pine clenched his teeth and stepped forward again. At this moment, there was a hint of excitement in the old man named Pang's eyes, and the eyes of the old woman in green lit up. It was impossible to see her thoughts. The moment the 9th step landed, it was as if Master Ashen Pine had smashed into a wall. A huge force smashed into his body, and he coughed out blood. His body was ejected from the stone, and it took several dozen feet for him to stop. If I can enter, then none of them will be able to leave this 7-colored realm. His face was pale as he stared at the mountain rock. There was a hint of madness and ferociousness in Master Ashen Pine's eyes. Wang Lin stood up and patted the dust off his clothes. He looked at the scattered devil armor on Master Ashen Pine and calmly said, "Let me try." The video schedule for first is up, and I ask all friends not to be stingy. Remember to share Leo. If you're capable, friends, please be prepared to support Leo with a like. Chapter 1186, as it should be. Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin. As he did so, the madness in his eyes was gradually hid away. He thought, this person's body is indeed strange. Earlier, he was able to stand up against the dragon with his body. Perhaps he can break the formation with the power of his body. Okay, I'll rely on fellow cultivator Lu. Master Ashen Pine clasped his hands and his expression returned to normal. The old man named Pang sneered. He thought that if even Master Ashen Pine with the devil armor could only take 9 steps, then how many steps could this person named Lu possibly take? Wang Lin looked at the stone. He originally wasn't going to act, but after he saw the madness in Master Ashen Pine's eyes, he was moved. Although it was dangerous here, there must have been something important in this place to interest Master Ashen Pine so much. If they couldn't enter, Master Ashen Pine wouldn't let them leave. Although Wang Lin had already secretly prepared for this and therefore didn't care, he wanted to know what would make Master Ashen Pine so crazy. I asked fellow cultivator Zhao to help and open the formation. Wang Lin clasped his hands at the old woman in green. The old woman in green was obviously holding back. She had used the fact that Master Ashen Pine was anxious and had made him try it himself, resulting in his injury. We haven't even found the treasure, and these people already began secretly fighting amongst each other to weaken each other's strength. If I want to participate in this mess, I must do the same. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, and no one could see through his thoughts. The old woman in green raised her right hand and waved. A restriction landed on the mountain rock, causing it to become transparent, and ripples appeared. Wang Lin arrived next to the mountain rock in a few steps and walked inside. No one noticed that when he entered the rock, Wang Lin's right hand sent out an invisible restriction as he went inside. Just as he entered the mountain rock, Wang Lin felt pressure from all directions. The pressure was even more intense ahead. He was very slow as he walked forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. When the 3rd step fell, Wang Lin clearly felt the pressure reach an unimaginable height, and the pressure ahead was like a violent storm. It was as if countless mountains were pressing down on him, preventing him from moving forward. With every extra step, the pressure would increase. As a result, the more he walked, the more difficult it became. If it was an ordinary cultivator, their body wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure, and they would inevitably collapse. However, Wang Lin had the body of an ancient god, so this was nothing to him. However, at this moment his face was extremely pale and he stopped at the third step. After a moment, he lifted his feet once more. 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps. The moment the 6th step landed, the pressure reached an earth-shattering degree. It was as if countless hands were pressing down and countless spells were up ahead. It made him feel like a lonely boat in the stormy sea. Wang Lin's face was deathly pale, and his body trembled slightly. It seemed like he was going to retreat, but at this moment, a force appeared behind him and prevented him from retreating. At this moment, outside the mountain rock, the old woman in green stared at Wang Lin and pondered. "There is a change in the formation," Master Ashen Pine frowned as he looked at Wang Lin's body. After carefully looking at Wang Lin for a bit, he began to carefully think about his own 6th step and became silent. The old man named Pang sneered and thought that he had thought too highly of this person before. This person only had cultivation but no cunning. If one were to get injured here, they would be unable to continue. Wang Lin stopped at the 6th step for a long time before he took the 7th step. On the 7th step, he coughed out blood, but he didn't retreat. He then took the 8th step. The moment the 8th step landed, popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body, as if his flesh and bones were being squeezed. Large amounts of blood sprayed out, causing his white robe to become blood red. At this moment, Master Ashen Pine was moved, and he walked a few steps closer. His gaze was like lightning as he observed Wang Lin. The old woman in green also stood up, and her expression was serious. As for the old man named Pang, he sneered even more in his heart. Wang Lin's body, which was inside the mountain rock, seemed to become twisted. He lifted his right foot, and there was a faint roar from the mountain rock as he took the 9th step. Wang Lin's body trembled violently and the veins on his face became swollen. His eyes were bloodshot, but he stabilized himself. Master Ashen Pine's mind trembled and he shouted, "Fellow cultivator Lu, only one more step." The old woman in green revealed a complicated expression. She looked for a long time and couldn't see any sign of Wang Lin faking it. It was all very real. The formation unexpectedly changed. Even if he wanted to return, he can't. "Fellow cultivator Ashen Pine and Zhao, I have already done my best on this trip. If I am seriously injured, you all," Wang Lin's weak voice came from inside the rock. "Fellow cultivator Lu can rest assured. This old man will not forget his promise." Master Ashen Pine sent out his message. Wang Lin seemed to hesitate inside the mountain rock, but soon he lifted his right foot and took the 10th step. The moment the 10th step landed, the entire mountain roared and shook violently. Large amounts of rocks fell off the mountain and alerted the fog beasts at the top. The 9-step heaven ceiling formation collapsed. Wang Lin coughed out more blood. As the formation collapsed, a powerful force pushed Wang Lin out of the mountain. Master Ashen Pine's eyes lit up and he immediately moved forward. His right hand aimed directly at Wang Lin's back. The moment his right hand touched Wang Lin, his origin energy and divine sense rushed into Wang Lin's body. He cycled once through Wang Lin's body and then quickly withdrew. It was inconvenient for him to kill Wang Lin before the old woman in green. Otherwise, it would put her on extremely high alert and cause unnecessary trouble in the future. His purpose was to test if this person named Lu was really seriously injured. Now that he got his answer, he wasn't going to bother with someone who was already seriously injured and no longer a threat. Just at this moment, the roar of beasts suddenly appeared. A hawk-like beast charged out from the mountain and rushed at everyone. Master Ashen Pine grabbed Wang Lin and directly charged into the tunnel that appeared once the formation collapsed. The old man named Pang and the old woman in green quickly followed into the tunnel. Everyone quickly moved through the tunnel for a long time. Only after they could no longer hear the roars of the beasts did they stop. Master Ashen Pine put Wang Lin down and looked regretful. He clasped his hands. Brother Lu was willing to get seriously injured to open the formation. This old man will remember this. Wang Lin's face was pale and there was still blood on the corner of his lip. He waved his hand and revealed a wry smile. That formation was very strange. After I took 6 steps, there was a force behind me, so I could only move forward. No matter what, fellow cultivator Lu has contributed greatly to us entering here. Master Ashen Pine looked very sincere and continued to clasp his hands. Seeing that Wang Lin's face was tired, he immediately took out pills and handed them to Wang Lin. Brother Lu, rest and recover for a bit. Once you recover a bit, we can continue moving forward. Wang Lin pondered a bit and bitterly nodded. He took the pill but didn't consume it. He brought his own pills and swallowed them before closing his eyes to cultivate. The old man named Pang's eyes lit up and revealed a hint of coldness. Just at this moment, Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man and shook his head slightly. Time slowly passed. It didn't take long before Wang Lin opened his eyes and stood up. He said in a hoarse voice, "My injuries can heal in a short period of time. Let us move forward." Master Ashen Pine looked at Wang Lin and nodded. The old woman in green sighed in her heart but didn't speak. Everyone walked forward through the tunnel. This place was very quiet, with only the sounds of their footsteps echoing. After an unknown amount of time, light appeared in the distance. Master Ashen Pine suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly walked ahead. The location of the light was the exit of this tunnel. Looking outside, Master Ashen Pine began to laugh. There was a large valley outside the tunnel. It was filled with vegetation, and one could easily smell the faint fragrance of the flowers. It was a relaxing scent. After the valley stood a mountain range that was like a city wall. These mountains were very tall and walled off the outside world. After we pass the mountain range, we will enter the inner part of this realm. Simamos cave is not in the mountain, but in a valley before it. Master Ashen Pine laughed as he flew forward at a fast pace. The old woman in green followed, and the two of them flew away. Wang Lin's face was pale, and the 7-colored light was even more harsh. He took a deep breath and followed. The old man named Pang sneered and remained not far from Wang Lin. It didn't take long for the 4 of them to arrive at a valley under Master Ashen Pine's guidance. As soon as they entered the valley, they saw a cave before them. The wall of this cave was covered in grass, making it obvious it hadn't been used for a long time. It wasn't very large and only had 3 rooms. The ground was a mess with pills scattered everywhere. Most of them had fossilized and would crumble if you touched them. Master Ashen Pine's mind was obviously not on the cave. He looked at the old woman in green and said, "I won't take anything from here. Everything belongs to fellow cultivators Zhao and Lu." The old woman in green's divine sense spread out, and she shook her head. "Fellow cultivator Lu has paid a heavy price, so how could I take anything? Let fellow cultivator Lu take everything." Wang Lin looked around and let out a sigh. "I'm unable to continue with the 2 of you. This place is quiet and suitable for healing. Fellow cultivator is seriously injured, so it's better for you to heal for a few days. After fellow cultivator Zhao and I return, we'll naturally hand over what was promised. Then we can leave together." Master Ashen Pine smiled. "Many thanks." Wang Lin nodded. "However, although this place is quiet, it is still dangerous as there might be fierce beasts. Fellow cultivator Pang, there is one thing I want to ask of you." Master Ashen Pine pondered for a bit before looking at the old man named Pang. "If fellow cultivator Lu recovers here by himself, I will feel worried, so I'd like to ask fellow cultivator Pang to stay here to protect him. Part of what I and fellow cultivator Zhao find will be given to you as payment. How about it?" The old man named Pang's eyes lit up and he said, "As it should be." The VIDEO has reached first place in the ranking but still can't maintain the top position. Urgently wishing for all friends to push a round of VIDEO, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 1187, Harvest. Wang Lin frowned and was about to speak. "What, is fellow cultivator not satisfied?" Master Ashen Pine's expression shrank as he looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained silent. "Since fellow cultivator Lu agrees, then I'll leave it to fellow cultivator Pang." After Master Ashen Pine finished speaking, he looked at the old woman in green, and the 2 left the cave. They charged straight for the wall-like mountain range in the distance. However, before leaving, the old woman in green glanced at Wang Lin. Similarly, Master Ashen Pine looked at the old man named Pang. After the 2 of them left, the old man named Pang revealed a gloomy smile and stared at Wang Lin. He turned the ring on his finger and slowly said, "Fellow cultivator Lu, continue to cultivate. This old man will guard you well. After he finished speaking, he presumptuously scanned Wang Lin with his divine sense. After confirming that Wang Lin's injuries were real, he didn't even look at Wang Lin and began raiding the cave. Wang Lin closed his eyes and ignored the old man. Time slowly passed. When the old man searched the 3 stone rooms, he revealed a look of ecstasy. After returning, he coldly stared at Wang Lin and suddenly laughed. "Fellow cultivator Lu, this old man remembers you once said something." Wang Lin opened his eyes. His gaze was calm as he looked at the old man named Pang. Seeing Wang Lin's calm eyes, the old man's eyes narrowed but quickly returned to normal. He said with an eerie tone, "You once told me that I should speak carefully. If I speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly said, "I did indeed say that, and I'll say it now as well. If you speak carelessly, it might invite a calamity." The old man began to laugh like crazy, and the scars on his face looked extremely ferocious. He looked at Wang Lin with a cold gaze and said, "If you weren't injured, I might have been a bit afraid of you. However, now I want to see which one of us has invited a calamity." He looked at Wang Lin and slammed his right hand down on him. The reason he had waited until now to attack was to allow Master Ashen Pine and the old woman in green to gain some distance. He feared that she might notice. Wang Lin's eyes were still as calm as water. The moment the old man's right hand closed in, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His left hand moved like lightning and grabbed the old man's right hand, then he mercilessly squeezed. A crackling sound echoed, and the old man's pupils shrank. Pain came from his hand, but it was insignificant compared to the terror in his heart. "You!" The old man named Pang immediately retreated and was about to use a spell. However, at this moment, Wang Lin rushed out, and his right hand forced a fist. A powerful force whistled forward. The old man was too close to Wang Lin, and thus was unable to dodge at all. Wang Lin's fist landed on the old man's chest with a bang. The old man coughed out blood and his eyes became filled with disbelief. His body exploded into a pile of flesh and blood, and his origin soul escaped screaming. He was filled with fear. He was afraid. He would have never expected the person before him to not be injured. He was about to escape when Wang Lin lifted his right hand and an iron sword appeared. He slashed down without any hesitation. There was a flash of sword energy. Then the old man's origin soul was cut in half and he let out a scream. Wang Lin waved his hand and grabbed the old man's origin soul. His hand crushed half of the origin soul, and before the origin energy could dissipate, Wang Lin inhaled it. The other half of the origin soul was almost transparent, but it didn't dare to escape. It turned in Wang Lin's hand with the iron sword pointed at it. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin had made the killing strike without wasting any time at all. The old man wasn't prepared, making his spells and magic treasure useless. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he gloomily said, "Open your storage space and I won't kill you." The old man's origin soul was very weak, and he already felt like he was dissipating. Wang Lin looked incredibly powerful right now. He couldn't tell if what Wang Lin had said was the truth or a lie. If it was a lie, he'd die, but if it was true, he still had a chance to live. He clenched his teeth and opened his storage space. Wang Lin waved his iron sword and cut off the connection between the old man and the storage space. Then he took everything inside the storage space. Then he coldly looked at the old man's origin soul, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. The old man named Pang's origin soul immediately screamed, "You promised to not kill me!" Wang Lin let out a cold snort as his right hand grabbed the origin soul and forcibly searched the old man's memories while he was weakened. A moment later, he put the origin soul that was close to death inside his storage space. He really didn't decide to kill this old man. If this old man's death raised Master Ashen Pine's guard, then it wouldn't be worth it, as it would destroy Wang Lin's plan. This person has a very close relationship with Master Ashen Pine, so Master Ashen Pine might have his life token. Once he dies, Master Ashen Pine might immediately know. Wang Lin wasn't sure, and he hadn't seen it in the old man's memory, but he'd always rather tread with caution. After calculating for a bit, Wang Lin leisurely opened his storage space and searched the old man's stuff. The old man was a Nirvana Shatterer cultivator, so he had a lot of treasures. There were hundreds of thousands of celestial jades, and there were even 50,000 to 60,000 origin crystals. Aside from these, there were large amounts of herb and pill recipes. This old man was fully prepared for this trip. These were all secondary. Wang Lin mainly searched the jades. Among the jades, he found 2 maps and a chant to leave this place. The 2 maps were related to the 7-colored realm. Some routes were marked, including places where you could feed fog beast celestial jades to get origin crystals. It was very detailed. Unfortunately, Wang Lin was unable to find Master Ashenpine's true goal in the old man's memories. Even the old man only knew that there were a lot of beast souls sealed there. Aside from that, Wang Lin learned other things about the 7-colored realm. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin continued to inspect everything, including the things the old man had gotten from this cave for Wang Lin. There were a lot of pills, and what caught Wang Lin's attention was a short sword. This short sword was stabbed into a beast skeleton in the 3rd stone chamber. He waved his right hand, and with a flash of silver light, the short sword appeared. The old man had just obtained it and hadn't even gotten the chance to examine it before returning it to Wang Lin. When his divine sense swept past the short sword, he noticed an unusual aura from it. He felt like it was familiar, but couldn't remember what it was. However, there was a seal on the sword. If it wasn't open, it would be impossible to know its exact strength. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin arrived at the 3rd room and saw the beast skeleton on the ground. This beast wasn't very large, only about the size of a person, and it was shaped like a deer. Its bones were completely black, and many of them had turned to dust. After taking a closer look, the dust had appeared recently. It was obvious that the old man done this when taking the sword. Looking at the beast bone, Wang Lin gradually frowned. He felt like something was wrong. Why was there a deer in such a cave? Also, it was easy to see that this short sword was not ordinary even though it was still sealed. Once the seal was open, its power would be unimaginable. Yet such a treasure was stabbed into this deer and left here. Since this place isn't Tessima Moa's cave, then whose cave is it? Wang Lin had searched the old man's memories and found that this wasn't Tessima Moa's cave. Master Ashenpine had never intended to take him to the real cave. This was just a cave Master Ashenpine had randomly found. Sima Mo did indeed have a cave in this land, but it was not here. Wang Lin now knew its real location. Looking at the beast skeleton on the ground, Wang Lin pondered for a long time before walking out of the room. He had no clues and wasn't able to analyze more. He put away the short sword and was about to leave. Then Wang Lin's footsteps suddenly stopped as if he had thought of something. He looked down at the ground. In the corner, there was a ring inside the pile of flesh and blood. Wang Lin remembered that this ring was the old man's beast treasure. It was something he had obtained from the 7-colored realm, but Wang Lin had instantly killed him before he could use it. Wang Lin's right hand reached out, and the ring flew into his hand. After wiping off the blood, Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense, and his expression changed slightly. There was a seal with a total of 9 layers on this ring. The old man named Pang had opened 7 layers and gained partial control of the ring. He had also broken more than half of the 8th layer. Wang Lin erased the imprint on it and placed his own. Then, he carefully looked at it. With his knowledge of restrictions, it would not be difficult to break the rest of the seal. His left hand formed a seal and sent out a restriction. The instant it fell on the ring, popping sounds echoed as the mostly broken 8th layer shattered. The ring unexpectedly gave off a 5-color glow, and 5 rays of light circled Wang Lin. These 5 rays of light formed a very strong shield. As they circled Wang Lin, they could prevent all spells from getting close. If the old man named Pang had opened the 8th seal, I wouldn't have killed him so fast. With a thought, the 5 rays of light went back into the ring and Wang Lin put it away. He took a deep breath and looked outside the cave. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He shot out of the cave and chased after them. As he moved, he didn't spread out his divine sense. He only kept it wrapped around his body. He navigated through the valley with a strange connection he was feeling. If Master Ashenpine saw Wang Lin's path, he would be shocked. This route was exactly the same one he had taken with the old woman in green. How can I, Wang Lin, let you wear my scattered devil armor for nothing? Urgently wishing for all friends to push a round of VIDEO, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 1188, Tao Scripture. This place was covered in grass, and there was no fog, so he could clearly see into the distance. Wang Lin was rushing his way through the valley. Sometimes he would stop and close his eyes for a moment as if he was sensing where the path was. A moment later, he would open his eyes and rush forward again. The wall-like mountain range was in the distance, and as time passed, Wang Lin gradually closed in. After about a day, Wang Lin stopped outside a valley. This was already very close to the mountain range. He only needed to travel through the valley to arrive at the foot of the mountain range. Looking at the valley ahead, Wang Lin began to ponder. This valley was strange. After carefully observing for a bit, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His right hand formed a restriction, and he pointed to the spot between his eyebrows. A black line flew out from between his eyebrows. It twisted into a restriction mark as it flew forward. The restriction floated in the air, giving off a black glow that surrounded the area. As the black light shrouded the area, silver light came from the grass before him, revealing a strange pattern. It was the pattern of a plum flower. The moment Wang Lin saw this, his eyes narrowed. The 18 plum flower restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction hadn't been here for a long time. It was only placed here one day ago. Apparently the old woman in green had placed it here. The 18 plum flower restriction was derived from one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. If Wang Lin hadn't gone to Al Heaven, he wouldn't have been able to break this restriction. However, when he was Al Heaven, Wang Lin gained the inheritance of one of the 4 great ancient restrictions, the annihilation restriction. This 18 plum flower restriction was derived from the annihilation restriction, so it wasn't difficult for Wang Lin to break. The old woman in green left this restriction here. Presumably it is for an ambush, and a warning. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he was about to move forward when he suddenly stopped. He carefully looked at the 18 plum flower restriction on the ground. He had a vague feeling that things weren't this simple. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and carefully scanned the grass inch by inch. His expression gradually grew serious, especially when he saw the black light not so far from the 18 plum flower restriction. He immediately thought about the black gas the old woman had used to absorb the dragoness vitality, and to enter the 9-step heaven ceiling formation. When he saw the old woman's restriction, he felt it was strange, but it was inconvenient to observe too closely, so he couldn't see through it. However, with the restriction before him, he thought for a bit and gained enlightenment. To form vitality from endless death aura, this method is similar to one of the 4 great ancient restrictions. The life and death restriction. Wang Lin pondered a bit as he squatted down and his right hand moved. He slowly pulled up some grass from the soil, and his eyes narrowed. The root of the grass had already decayed, and there wasn't much vitality left. In just a few more hours, it would lose all its vitality, and the restriction here would be activated completely. The old woman in green didn't have time to do anything too detailed with Master Ashen Pine around. She simply left a restriction here that would absorb vitality from the vegetation. Once all the vitality had been absorbed, the restriction would activate, Wang Lin muttered to himself. He then became extremely vigilant toward the old woman in green. Right now, this restriction is half complete, so it's not as if I can break it, unless. Wang Lin smiled and took a few steps back. His hands formed a seal and pointed forward. The black light, formed by the annihilation restriction heart, suddenly collapsed into specks of black light that landed on this patch of grass. I won't break this restriction. Instead, I'll leave my own imprint and restriction on it before it fully activates. By doing so, I will take over this restriction without the old woman knowing, with my annihilation restriction and the life and death restriction. That's 2 of the 4 great ancient restrictions. Even if Master Ashen Pine were to carelessly step inside, he would be seriously injured. Wang Lin carefully moved through the field. He didn't relax until he entered the valley. After looking around, Wang Lin looked at the end of the valley. It was connected to the wall-like mountain range. The mountain was very steep, as if it was a tower. Without pausing, Wang Lin climbed up the mountain like lightning. Thinking about the life and death restriction, Wang Lin could not help but remember what Li Yuan had said back then. When the world was born, laws appeared. After a long time, a strand spread out into restriction, or formation. They have different names, but they read the same thing. Heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow have been the 4 ranks of restrictions for a very long time. However, there was still a level above those 4, and we call it abstract. The abstract is split into the 4 great ancient restrictions. Aside from the annihilation restriction of the 4 great ancient restrictions, there are the life and death restriction, the ancient soul restriction, and the mysterious time restriction. Even most of the celestial restrictions were derived from these four great ancient restrictions and spread to the present. Wang Lin began to ponder as he climbed the mountain. When I left the All-Heaven star system, Li Yuan said that if one could learn all four great ancient restrictions and fuse them, they would be able to comprehend the abstract realm. Abstract is the peak of restrictions. However, over the countless years since the restriction law split from the birth of the world, no one has been able to comprehend the abstract realm. Wang Lin let out a sigh and no longer thought about this matter. Instead, he focused on sensing Master Ashen Pine's route. Half a day passed by. Wang Lin stood at the highest point of the mountain under the seven-colored light. The seven-colored light surrounded him, and from a distance, he looked like a celestial god. This wall-like mountain range was like a ring that separated the inner part from the outside. This place was filled with dense fog, so it was impossible to see what it was like. It was like a black sea that had faintly revealed its danger. Looking ahead, Wang Lin could clearly feel that Master Ashen Pine was in the fog. Wang Lin's eyes turned cold as he charged down the mountain and disappeared into the distance. Master Ashen Pine was wearing the Divine Devil armor and was being extremely cautious. He had to be on guard with every step he took while inside the fog. The old woman in green was beside him, and she had black gas surrounding her. The surroundings were completely silent with only their footsteps echoing. That person named Lu should be dead by now. Peng Dekai is good at soul searching, so he must have had a good harvest, especially with that war spirit print. It is one of the great spells of the God sect. Master Ashen Pine had calculated the time. They had worked together often, so they could know each other's thoughts at a glance. Peng Dekai should be on his way. Master Ashen Pine's eyes shined an indiscernible amount. The old woman in green hadn't spoken at all, but she suddenly asked, "Master Ashen Pine, how far away is the place you mentioned?" "Not far, it should be just ahead." Just as he spoke, he suddenly stopped. At the same time, the old woman in green also stopped and cautiously looked ahead. There was a blurry, giant statue hidden in the fog before them. The statue seemed to be moving. As the fog churned, the statue seemed to change. The two of them looked at each other and slowly walked forward. It didn't take long for them to arrive below the giant statue and look up. This was a giant boulder more than 1,000 feet tall with a man carved into it. He was looking up at the sky, pondering, and there was a lightning-like mark between his eyebrows. This is the old woman in green was startled as she stared at the mark between the eyebrows of the statue, and her expression suddenly changed. Just at this moment, an erratic voice penetrated from the thick fog. It was strange and contained a force that could penetrate the soul. It seemed to come from the distance but also close by. It was impossible to know where it was coming from. Enlightened, prisoner of the Tao of Heaven, all sentient beings must endure immeasurable calamities. It only takes a thought to leave the deep prison. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, all life must walk forever forward and solve the modern age. Escape the will of heaven and obtain the path to life. Await the path of cultivation. Enlightened, seal the will of the heavens. Engrave the dark days. All life doesn't know the true Tao. The bitter abyss forever distorts the true Tao. Await the path of cultivation. This eerie passage echoed through the fog and filled the area. Master Ashen Pine's face immediately turned pale and he looked around in fear. The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. These strange words remained in her mind and continued to echo. It unexpectedly caused her origin soul to tremble, and her Tao heart became unstable. Who are they? What do these words mean? The old woman in green looked at Master Ashen Pine. They are the enlightened ones. Just after he finished speaking, the fog before them churned and a shadow flew out. It was too fast, and it directly floated past between the two of them. The strange voice clearly entered their mind. "Master Ashen Pine, what exactly are the enlightened ones?" The old woman's face was pale as the passages echoed in her mind. She was beginning to feel like she couldn't withstand it anymore. The lost ones have lost their Tao and search in confusion as they wandered the seven-colored realm. They blindly search. The enlightened ones have Tao, but due to seeing the Tao scripture, their Tao hearts collapsed and couldn't reform. They could only float in this fog and search forever. They may already be dead, and this is merely a Tao soul formed from their will. Master Ashen Pine whispered as he listened to those words echo in his mind. Tao scripture? The old woman in green's eyes narrowed. Master Ashen Pine raised his head. His eyes were filled with fervor as he slowly said, "Yes, it is the Tao scripture. I have never heard of this before coming to the seven-colored realm, but after entering here, I found countless clues about it. In this world, there is the Tao scripture that is rumored to be formed by the blood of heaven. What they talking about is the Tao scripture." The old woman in green sucked in a breath of cold air. What she was hearing now was simply too terrifying. Embarrassed, I've been remiss in saying thank you. Thank you all for pressing the like button. Thanks to the fellow Taoists for their praise. Chapter 1189. The Many Treasures of Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine's eyes revealed a strange light, and he slowly said, "It is the Tao scripture. I'm not afraid of fellow cultivator Zhao learning my true purpose. The beast souls are only secondary. My true goal is to see the Tao scripture. There are many enlightened ones here, so getting to the Tao scripture 1T be simple." Master Ashen Pine, you the old woman in green, looked at Master Ashen Pine. "Fellow cultivator Zhao, do you remember the thing that spread among my generation when one didn't have an ascendant pill?" Master Ashen Pine looked up at the statue. The old woman softly said, "Those who seek Tao are born in the morning and die at dusk. It is enough. Let's go." Master Ashen Pine withdrew his gaze and rushed forward. The old woman in green pondered for a bit and then followed. As the two moved forward, the erratic voices became even louder. This sound was strange and unpredictable, and it would make your mind begin to wander involuntarily. It required a lot of effort to suppress it by force. As they got deeper into the fog, they got a feeling they wouldn't be able to suppress it much longer. Every step they took felt like a large army was bearing down on them and causing their minds to tremble. Master Ashen Pine's face was pale, but it was filled with excitement. They slowly walked through the fog as time slowly passed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had been in the fog for 3 days. They didn't know how far they had walked in the fog. On the 4th day, they vaguely saw a small mountain before them. This small mountain wasn't very large, only 10,000 feet tall. It was appearing and disappearing within the fog. A layer of black light surrounded the small mountain, blocking the path forward. Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green and sincerely said, "Fellow cultivator Zhao, my restriction knowledge can be compared to yours. Please help me break this restriction. This mountain is where the countless beast souls are sealed. As long as fellow cultivator Zhao opens it, you can obtain the beast souls." The old man in green looked at the black light curtain restriction. She arrived next to it and placed her right hand on it. After a long time, her expression became ugly and she said, "This is a time restriction. The longer it exists, the more powerful it becomes. I can see through how old this restriction is, so there is no need to talk about breaking it. If I had known there was this kind of restriction here, I would have never come." Master Ashen Pine smiled and his hand reached out. A storage space opened, and something flew out. It was a black awl with a spiral mark on it. The moment he took it out, a pressure began to spread. "Does fellow cultivator Zhao know what this is?" Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green stared at the awl with a strange light in her eyes. After looking carefully for a long time, she slowly said, "The strange treasure from ancient times, restriction-breaking awl. Fellow cultivator Zhao is indeed worthy of being a restriction grandmaster, so knowledgeable. I wonder how confident fellow cultivator Zhao is in breaking this restriction with this." The old woman in green pondered a bit and said, "How many restriction-breaking awls do you have?" Master Ashen Pine said, 4. If it was a time restriction that had only existed for a short period of time, 4 would be enough. However, this restriction has existed for far too long, so I am only 10% confident. The old woman in green shook her head. Master Ashen Pine pondered a bit before waving his right hand and taking something else out. It was a piece of black wood that was the size of a palm. The moment it appeared, an indescribably powerful aura appeared. This aura even moved the fog and formed a vortex 100 feet wide, slowly rotating. The eyes of the old woman in green narrowed. She stared at the piece of black wood and gasped before slowly asked, "Pseudo-Nirvana void treasure?" Master Ashen Pine didn't explain and slowly said, "How confident are you with this?" The old woman withdrew her gaze and calculated for a bit before she said, 40%. If there was the war spirit print, it would be 50%, but unfortunately. Master Ashen Pine hesitated for a bit and took out one more item from his storage space. It was a bright crystal that seemed to have fresh blood flowing inside. The moment it appeared, a heaven-shattering destructive aura spread out. "It should be enough with this." Master Ashen Pine looked at the old woman in green. The old woman in green silently pondered for a bit, and then said in a hoarse voice, "Master Ashen Pine is going big to take out 2 pseudo-nirvana void treasures. This crystal is obviously a lot more powerful than the last with these 3 items. I am 70% confident." 70% is enough. Master Ashen Pine waved his sleeves and the 4 restriction-breaking awls flew toward the old woman in green. Master Ashen Pine was well prepared. If it wasn't for the fact that his restriction ability was truly inferior to this old woman's, he would have already broken it himself. "When you need me to use the treasures, just tell me." The old woman in green no longer wasted any time. Both her hands formed seals and restrictions flew out. At the same time, the black gas around her moved with the restrictions. With the point of her finger, they shot toward one of the restriction-breaking awls. Popping sounds echoed as the restrictions landed on the restriction-breaking awl. Then the black gas rushed into it. The awl gave off a black glow. Then an aura that could split the heavens spread out. The eyes of the old woman shined as she bit the tip of her tongue, and an arrow of blood shot out at the awl. It landed on the awl, causing it to fly directly at the time restriction. As it closed in, the black light restriction began to distort as the power of time came crashing down. The awl immediately trembled and showed signs of disappearing. The old woman in green shouted, "Break!" The awl gave off a blood-red light and a large amount of black gas rushed into the awl. It directly drilled into a corner of the black light restriction and sank inside before it rapidly dissipated. At the same time, more black gas came out from the old woman in green and entered the second restriction-breaking awl. It shot out like lightning and was nailed into another corner. The remaining restriction-breaking awls also flew out and were nailed into the black light restriction. When all 4 restriction-breaking awls landed, there was a roar from the black light restriction. Originally, countless ripples would be appeared, but with the 4 awls nailed in, it was as if 4 giant rocks were thrown into a pond. Each set of ripples went in a different direction and disturbed the balance on the surface. Just at this moment, the old woman in green formed a seal and pointed to between her eyebrows. She immediately spat out a mouthful of black gas. Her wrinkles rapidly dissipated, and she returned back into a 40-year-old, beautiful, middle-aged woman. Large amounts of black gas charged at the black light screen and landed at the center. It formed a black vortex at the center and started to collide with the black light restriction. An earth-shattering rumble echoed. The beautiful woman's eyes lit up and she quickly said, "Black wood." Master Ashen Pine didn't hesitate and threw the piece of black wood. When it got close to the vortex, he pointed at it. The wood immediately trembled and a heaven-shaking destructive aura spread out, and the wood suddenly collapsed. The rumble shook the world and pushed the fog out in all directions. The unimaginable impact seemed to be about to dissipate when the beautiful woman jumped forward. She appeared above the impact and sent out countless restrictions. She was able to control the destructive impact to charge at the black light restriction. The rumbling even caused the earth to tremble, and the fluctuations on the black light restriction became even more intense. More ripples appeared, but it wasn't damaged at all, and instead a rebound force appeared. The first awl that was nailed in collapsed. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Without any order, Master Ashen Pine threw the crystal. When it got near the restriction, it exploded. This crystal contained unimaginable power, and it immediately turned into a huge storm. The beautiful woman clenched her teeth and her hands formed another seal before pointing to between her eyebrows. More black gas scattered from her body and her appearance changed once more. She unexpectedly became a beautiful young woman around 20 years old. The black gas around her turned into countless restrictions under her control and fused with the destructive force caused by the collapse of the crystal. She directed this destructive force toward the black light restriction. A loud rumble echoed once more along with cracking sounds. A crack appeared on the black light restriction. However, the crack quickly closed and it looked like it was about to be restored back to normal. Master Ashen Pine clenched his teeth and his heart ached as he took something else out from his storage space. It was just a jade token, but it also gave off the aura of a pseudo-nirvana void treasure. Master Ashen Pine was extremely unwilling to take it out. The 2 treasures from before weren't really pseudo-nirvana void, they merely contained some aura of pseudo-nirvana void treasures. Although they were powerful, it would be fine if they were destroyed. Although his heart would ache a bit, he could accept it. However, this item was a true pseudo-nirvana void treasure. If this was destroyed, he would feel like his heart had been crushed. This scene made the beautiful woman's eyes narrow, and she sucked in a breath of cold air. She wasn't able to guess just how many pseudo-nirvana void treasures Master Ashen Pine had. These treasures were extremely rare, but in order to break this restriction, Master Ashen Pine was willing to destroy 3. If they were taken outside, their value would be unimaginable. Just exchanging them for beast souls would allow one to have everything they wanted. Shatter! Master Ashen Pine clenched his teeth before letting out a roar. He was giving it his all. The jade charged into the crack in the light and suddenly collapsed. An impact far stronger than the last 2 suddenly appeared. It formed a storm that affected all the fog within tens of thousands of kilometers. Crackling sounds echoed, but the black light screen still didn't shatter. However, the crack was now 100 feet wide. Although it was recovering, the rate had slowed down. Master Ashen Pine charged forward and rushed into the crack, ignoring the woman. The young woman's eyes lit up, and she also charged into the crack. Shortly after, a ray of light broke through the fog and turned into Wang Lin. He looked at the crack, but didn't immediately go in. After placing down large amount of restrictions outside, he rushed into the crack. Feebly asking, 4,000 words, does that count as a major chapter? Could it be hoping for the like button for the video and the followers too? You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1190, The Bottle Under the Bone. The crack on the restriction was like a scar, and it was rapidly healing. It won't be long before it heals completely. Once that happens, unless one uses that many treasures to destroy it again, then they would be sealed inside for eternity. There was a small mountain inside the crack. Master Ashen Pine moved like lightning toward the peak with the woman in green behind. The 2 of them were very fast and instantly arrived near the peak. There was a 200-foot-tall stone gate in the middle of the peak with a lightning-like mark carved on it. This is the location where the beast souls are sealed. Master Ashen Pine sent out a message with his divine sense as he arrived next to the gate. He then took out a silver pendant that was shaped like a bolt of lightning. He threw it, and the pendant flew at the gate while giving off a harsh silver glow. At the same time, the lightning mark on the gate also released a silver glow as if it was calling the pendant. Just at this moment, a thunderous rumble echoed and the huge stone gate slowly opened. Large amounts of dust scattered everywhere. The moment the stone gate opened, roars that could pierce the soul came from inside. The roars from the beast souls turned into an indescribable divine sense that quickly spread out. Fellow cultivator Zhao, time is of the essence. You take the beast souls. I want to take a look at the Tao scripture. Master Ashen Pine clasped his hands at the woman in green. If fellow cultivator Zhao is interested, how about going with this old man? Maybe you will gain enlightenment. The woman in green pondered a bit and then slowly shook her head. Master Ashen Pine no longer asked. He flew toward the top of the mountain. Although he hadn't been here before, the map he had obtained clearly marked where the Tao scripture was. The eyes of the woman in green lit up as she stared at Master Ashen Pine and frowned. She didn't believe what Master Ashen Pine had said, but there was no flaw to be found in his words. The beast soul fluctuations proved that what Master Ashen Pine had said was true. There was a large amount of beast souls sealed inside this place. After pondering a bit, the woman in green arrived next to the gate. Her divine sense spread out inside and her eyes revealed a strange light. After placing down a series of restrictions, she stepped inside. As for Master Ashen Pine, he had already arrived at the top of the mountain. He looked down and watched the woman in green entering the cave, and he sneered. I didn't lie. There is indeed a large amount of beast souls sealed inside. I am not afraid of you not going in. Even if you had secretly followed me, it would have been fine. He withdrew his gaze and his right hand formed a seal. Rumbling sounds came from the stone gate as it quickly closed and was sealed tightly. The angry roar of the woman in green came from within, as well as the sound of something pounding the gate. Master Ashen Pine knew he didn't have much time. Once that crack closes, it would be very difficult to leave. He stood at the top of the mountain and took a deep breath. There was excitement on his face. He had waited for this day for a long time. He stood there and lifted his hands before kneeling down. Then his hand pointed at the sky, and he began reciting a strange chant. This chant was very strange, and it was impossible to hear what he was saying. However, as he spoke, the seven-colored light in the sky became even more intense. It penetrated the fog and directly landed on the mountain. The light circled above Master Ashen Pine, before turning into a rainbow bridge that extended to the void ahead. Master Ashen Pine suppressed the excitement in his heart and moved across the bridge. At the end of the rainbow there was a seven-colored vortex in the void. Master Ashen Pine walked into the vortex. The vortex was filled with chaos and with seven-colored light. This light came from a giant stone tablet. It gave off an indescribable pressure that made it feel like anyone who entered had to worship it. Master Ashen Pine was no exception. He knelt there and began to mutter. Runes immediately appeared around him until they condensed around his eyes like a seal. A moment later, he raised his head and looked at the stone tablet. There was a skeleton at the bottom of the stone tablet. Only the upper half of the body remained, and its two hands were nailed onto the stone tablet with seven-colored nails. It was the skeleton of a cultivator. In this world filled with seven-colored light, this skeleton didn't change at all, but instead gave off a black glow. There were faint words engraved on the bones. These words were tiny and were densely packed all over the skeleton. There was a circular formation several dozen feet wide, and there were countless runes carved into the circles in the formation. At the center of the formation, which was directly below the spine of the skeleton, there was a jade bottle. When Master Ashen Pine's gaze landed on the jade bottle, greed filled his eyes. He knew that the words on the skeleton was the Tao scripture, but he would never look at it. Everything he had said was merely to fool the old woman in green. Once you see the Tao scripture, you become an enlightened one. I am living well, so why would I come here to die? He licked his lips. His real purpose for coming here was the jade bottle under the skeleton. At this moment, a flash of black light came from the spine of the skeleton, and a drop of black, blood-like liquid came out. It landed in the jade bottle, causing a boom. Master Ashen Pine charged at the skeleton and arrived next to it in an instant. His right hand immediately reached out for the jade bottle. However, just as his right hand touched the bottle, Master Ashen Pine's body trembled and a large amount of white gas came from his body. The white gas was absorbed by the bottle. However, Master Ashen Pine didn't panic, as if he knew this was going to happen. His right hand reached to the side and his storage space opened. Origin souls began flying out of it. In just a moment, more than 1,000 origin souls flew out. They were all sealed, and there was a thin line connecting them all together. The moment these origin souls flew out, Master Ashen Pine recited a strange chant, and his left hand grabbed an origin soul. The origin soul immediately trembled and dissipated, but then another one began to tremble. In just 10 breaths of time, nearly 1,000 origin souls dissipated into white gas and were absorbed by the jade bottle. At the same time, Master Ashen Pine bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a blood mist. Shortly after, 4 rays of light came out of his mouth and formed 4 palm-sized golden swords. They stabbed toward the circular formation around the bottle. The moment they landed, the blood mist entered the 4 swords. Popping sounds were heard when the 4 swords stabbed into 4 different parts of the formation. Just at this instant, Master Ashen Pine let out a roar and lifted his right hand. He pulled up the jade bottle and quickly retreated. He laughed like crazy and waved his left hand as he retreated. The 4 swords immediately flew out, but he didn't collect them. He let them fly out to the 7-colored world. Fellow cultivator Zhao, have you seen enough? The void twisted and the beautiful middle-aged woman appeared. Her hands formed a seal and countless restrictions appeared before her. The restrictions formed a vortex and stopped the 4 swords. However, the 4 golden swords were extremely strange. The moment they touched the vortex, they melted into golden liquid and bypassed the restriction vortex. They then shot straight toward the woman in green. The expression of the beautiful woman in green changed, and she retreated once more. The golden liquid immediately shattered into countless drops of golden rain and rushed at the woman in green from all directions. Fellow cultivator Zhao, although I don't know how you escaped, you shouldn't have followed. This is where the Tao scripture is, so observe well. Master Ashen Pine laughed like crazy. He was about to step out from the 7-colored world and return to the mountain using the rainbow. Once he returned to the mountain, he would immediately leave this place. The crack on the restriction would soon heal and the beautiful woman in green would be trapped here forever. Only by giving up her body and comprehending the Tao scripture would she be able to leave this place. But at that point, she would be no different from dead and would become one of the enlightened ones. However, just at this moment, a cold snort appeared and a figure appeared before Master Ashen Pine. This person also wore green. It was the old woman in green. Her appearance caused everything to become strange. Even Master Ashen Pine was startled. Two female cultivators named Zhao. However, one of them was a 40-year-old, beautiful, middle-aged woman, and the other was a wrinkle-filled old woman. However, one could tell that there was a shocking similarity between them. This is not an avatar. It's the Yang Yin ancestral spell. Master Ashen Pine's expression changed, and a thought flashed through his mind. He had thought of a very old legend of a forbidden spell. This spell was terrifying and went against morals. It was extremely difficult to cultivate, and until now almost no one had succeeded in doing so. However, Master Ashen Pine had to believe it as there was someone before him who had cultivated this forbidden technique and reached the level of 3 ancestors. The Yang Yin ancestral spell was for a female cultivator to get pregnant with a girl. Then this girl would grow up in the mother with a special spell to cause the mother and daughter to share the same body. Later, the daughter would form a cultivation couple with someone else and get pregnant with a girl again. Then the 3 would use the special spell to fuse into one. This was the method used to cause one's cultivation level to increase greatly. And because it was the fusion of 3 souls, their divine senses would be extremely powerful. Leo dreams of getting a lot of likes for this video, having many followers, plenty of shares, and everyone praising his good reading and the number of words he can read. So happy. Chapter 1191. Heavenly Fate appears once more. The old woman in green didn't explain but took a step forward and let out a cold snort. Her hands formed a seal and she inhaled, creating a powerful suction force. Master Ashen Pine was within the suction force, and he felt like all his life force was going to be sucked out. But his expression immediately returned to normal. He sneered and held the jade bottle tighter. It couldn't be placed inside his storage space, or else he would have already safely put it away. He didn't waste any time with the old woman and used his powerful cultivation to leave this place. Although he was shocked by the yin-yang ancestral spell, he was confident in leaving. At this moment, his left hand reached at the void and golden light appeared. The light transformed into tens of thousands of flying swords, and with a point of his finger, they flew toward the old woman in green. At the same time, Master Ashen Pine hit his forehead with his left hand, and a ray of red light flew out. The red light looked like a nascent soul, but if you look closely, it was clearly not a nascent soul. The little person let out a sharp shrill as the bloodlight wrapped around it and it charged straight at the old woman. When the old woman saw the little person, her expression immediately changed. She waved her right hand, and an ancient copper bowl appeared. She immediately threw it forward. The moment the copper bowl appeared, it began to spin and flew at the little person. The little person's eyes released a blinding bloodlight, and it let out a scream that could shatter metal. A rumble echoed and the copper bowl collapsed into countless fragments. At the same time, the countless golden's word flew toward the old woman in green along with the little person. Time was of the essence, and Master Ashen Pine didn't have time to deal with the old woman in green. Ripples appeared around him, and he was about to leave. However, just as he took half a step into the ripples, a withered arm stuck out from the void and reached at his right hand. It unexpectedly is the 4th ancestral realm. Master Ashen Pine's pupils contracted, but it was too late to think. His left hand reached out at the withered arm, and a thunderous rumble echoed. Master Ashen Pine groaned and his face immediately turned pale. Peak mid-stage Nirvana Shatterer. Master Ashen Pine's left arm felt numb and was completely black. Yellow liquid immediately secreted from his arm. He was poisoned. Borrowing the power of this force, he stepped into the ripples. An even older woman stepped out from the ripples. She looked like she had stepped out from a coffin. She also wore green and had lost all her hair, making her look extremely terrifying. Her eyes gave off a ghostly light as blood came out from the corner of her mouth. She waved her right hand, breaking the rain of golden swords, and grabbed the little person. After sealing it, she chased after Master Ashen Pine through the ripples. Master Ashen Pine's expression was pale. He didn't think the old woman in green would have perfectly hid her cultivation level, and managed to launch a sneak attack without him knowing. The old woman's spell also contained a strange poison that was attempting to circulate through his entire body, but he forcibly suppressed it. As long as I can leave this crack, there will be no time limit. With my numerous magic treasures, this old woman isn't my match. The moment Master Ashen Pine stepped out from the ripples, he wanted to leave, but the old woman immediately caught up. The two of them constantly attacked each other with spells, and a heaven-shaking rumble echoed across the mountain. They were closing in on the crack in the black light restriction. At this moment, the crack was only 20 feet wide, and it was recovering even faster. Master Ashen Pine's eyes lit up, and he recited a strange chant. The moment he did so, the 7-colored light in the sky flashed violently and descended from the sky. The 7 rays of light turned into 7 swords that shot at the old woman in green. The old woman's expression was gloomy as her hands formed a seal and a large violent light shield appeared before her. The moment it appeared, an ancient aura appeared with it, and there was a hint of devilish energy inside. The 7-colored light immediately collided with the shield, and an even more violent rumble echoed. The old woman coughed out blood, but her expression became even more fierce. Her right hand hit her forehead, causing her body to shiver, and her origin soul flew out. The moment her origin soul flew out, the old woman in green and the beautiful middle-aged woman in green who had just stepped out from the ripples also hit their foreheads. Their origin souls also flew out, and they quickly fused together. The 3 origin souls perfectly fused together in an instant and turned into a ray of light that shot toward Master Ashen Pine. Master Ashen Pine's expression became ferocious. He clenched his teeth as he moved the bottle to his left hand and waved his right. A bead immediately appeared in his right hand. Without hesitation, Master Ashen Pine threw the bead at the old woman's origin soul. Summon, defying one. Master Ashen Pine roared, and the bead gave off a ghostly light. It caused the 7-colored light to rush over and be absorbed by the bead. Shortly after, the bead collapsed and a bolt of 7-colored lightning shot out toward the old woman's origin soul. At the same time, the old woman's origin soul let out a screech, and 3 restrictions flew out. The moment they appeared, the world changed colors, and even the black light restriction trembled. These 3 restrictions were extremely powerful existences among the life and death restrictions. Life, death. As her divine sense spread out, the 3 restrictions fused to form a destructive force that could destroy the heavens, and it collided with the 7-colored lightning. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The mountain trembled, and a large portion of it